Hey guys, welcome to another episode of 4Player Anime Cast. I am your host, Spire. This is episode 236. We are in December, this a week after our initial I guess, fourth episode here. And we are all riled up to finish our final set of fall 2023 reviews. I am your host, Spire, and with me are my compatriots Near,
Hello.
Toast,
Hello.
and Dark.
Hi.
All right, so again, just like last time, we have a bunch of heavy hitters before we head on to our previews and end of the year stuff. So let's just start right off with our brief 2 weeks. Near, what do you have for us?
Technically, it's 1 week.
That's true. I
Yeah,
apologize.
um,
One week, yeah.
Yeah. The Game Awards happened.
What was your
So-
favorite game, Near?
Jet Set Radio reboot.
Did it win anything? I don't remember.
It got announced.
What's your game of the year, Near?
My game of the year. I don't know. Probably Baldur's Gate. It's kind of good. It's kind of a good game. So,
Wow, Baldur's Gate sweep yet again.
yeah, a little bit. It's pretty good. But yeah, other than the Game Awards, it was
What would you rate it out of 10, Near?
what the show.
Yeah. Was it better than what did Troy Baker host? The Dev Awards?
I don't remember.
who the fuck watches anything other than the Game Awards at this point?
Yeah, I feel like people don't really watch stuff like the fucking
Golden
joysticks
joysticks. Yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like people. I feel like people don't really.
I heard it was pretty funny though.
I mean, maybe. I didn't watch it. I just look at what wins. But yeah. Other than the Game Awards, this week had both Asuka and Misato's birthday from Evangelion.
Ah, yes.
So
yes.
that was
Fire.
fun.
That, yeah.
Fire, best
Yes.
Asuka design, go.
What?
We already made the decision. What's your decision?
Yeah.
True.
Best.
Best Asuka design, go.
It's a
Doesn't
tough
know.
choice.
He
I
doesn't
know.
even know
Is it
who it is.
doesn't know?
Doesn't even know who you're talking about. Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's like which
Fake
anime are you
anime
talking
viewer,
about?
fake
Yeah.
anime
We're
viewer.
talking about Evangelion Inspired. What's
Yes,
the
I
best?
know.
Yeah, I don't know if
Asuka
you've
design?
heard of it, but
Yeah.
Inspired, we've come to a decision, all three of us.
yeah,
The only one left is you.
the council has spoken, so you will now be judged.
Spoken.
Yes, Inspired. What's your favorite design?
Just like the standard red. Like I don't know.
Wrong.
Yikes.
Wrong.
Wrong.
I
Inspired.
mean, which one did Toast choose?
Hat, eye patch, and jacket, obviously.
Yes, Fire.
Oh. Okay.
All three of us
mean,
picked the same one.
I've never been like whatever.
Spire,
I don't want to say any further
Loser,
because
loser, you're a loser. You're an idiot and you're stupid.
I'm gonna get kicked out of this podcast. Even though, like,
Spire,
I apologize.
don't tell me you're the white plug suit fan.
Shit.
He likes the
Yuck.
gamer RGB suit, yeah.
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 The LGBT suit.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus.
But yeah. And then not too much. Still playing Mahjong. That's about it. I've been pretty chill this last week, so.
All right, pretty good. What about you, Toast?
I don't know. Yeah, Game Awards. The only game I'm interested in, Monster Hunter Wilds, I guess. That looks cool. I didn't play Rise because I didn't like the aesthetic of it.
Rise is very good.
It is. I bet it is, but I don't like the aesthetic. Damage numbers, get that out of here. Talking when you're attacking, no thanks.
I guarantee you all that's going to be in Wilds.
Yeah.
I hope they turn that off. Wasn't there damage numbers in World?
World?
Pretty sure,
Yes.
Yeah.
There was. I think that's the first time damage number showed up.
yeah. No thanks, I'm not a fan of bugs. Anyway, what was I? What happened in a week? I found out about the Canadian Apple guy. That was cool.
Yeah.
He was on my radar for like a day. Pierre Poilievre, whatever his name is.
Yeah. The libs call him PP. So.
Okay. Also, most importantly, there's an auto concert coming up next year.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, are you in?
I can't. I'm not in Chicago or New York.
Why not?
Yikes, he
What
can't
about-
travel.
I literally just I can't.
Uh-oh.
He can go to Korea. Oh, Spire, you can go
Guys,
back to Korea.
never heard of a train.
There's one in Seoul on February 24. Why not
That's
go back
February
there?
24th. Fuck. Okay. I wish it wasn't May. Fuck. All right, because I'm
Why
going
May?
to visit my family in May.
In May, I believe you can visit the Hololive Cafe.
Oh really? Is it? Oh yeah, I heard about that actually.
But yeah, where was I? But yeah, it's gonna be the one in the one in the Americas is gonna be in March. So, and tickets are gonna be start selling on the 15th. So I'm staring at ticket prices till they show up and they let me buy them. They won't let me buy them yet though. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Pretty good. Toast.
So,
What about you? Bar?
on that week of March 23 to April 1, I won't be on the podcast.
On the week of?
March 23, I won't be on the podcast.
You won't be on the. Give me a second.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
fire.
just
Check
the
the schedule.
23rd? Okay, just wait. Are we doing it there? Okay, we'll need to.
You
find
tell
out.
me, Spire. Why aren't you?
I didn't want to calculate that shit. But...
Yeah. Okay. But okay. Well, anyways, we can always figure it out.
And also,
Anyways,
Dark's not showing up either.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Toast.
But yeah, so I'm looking forward to the auto concert.
Yeah.
I
I'm
just hope the
jealous.
tickets aren't $5,000 like
I legit haven't gone to like an actual live concert or like a live performance of something, and I want to say literally like since I was in high school. So it's been a long time. But I would definitely buy tickets.
Same. I haven't been to especially this theater in a long like ever. So I don't know. And I need to do research to optimize my seating.
Okay. Anything else?
Merry Christmas? No, it's not Christmas.
It's not Christmas yet. Yeah.
Why
We'll have one. We'll have one episode before Christmas, so you'll be able to say it then.
I looked up holidays in December, and there's only one public holiday, and that's Christmas. Excuse me? Excuse me, Google. What about Kwanzaa? What about Hanukkah? What about the other ones? Racist. But yeah,
You could
have you
offer
noticed?
those.
Have you noticed that a lot of things are happening on December 15th? What's up with that?
Is there?
Yeah,
Like what?
yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot. There's like there's announcements on the 15th. There's a lot of games releasing on the 15th. There's updates releasing on the 15th. What day is the 15th? Friday? Why? Also, is it on the? Oh yeah, Near. You wouldn't know this, but on the 15th, December 15th, the Bill of Rights was signed or ratified. So
Okay.
I guess that's why.
Yeah. The whole country celebrates.
Hell yeah, Near. Oh, it's also International Tea Day. I don't drink tea. And National Cupcake Day. I don't know. December's weird.
Okay.
All right.
Tell us about your Canadian holidays, Near.
Like what? I
Do
don't
you
think.
have
I think
any?
the only like quote unquote Canadian holiday that's upcoming is Boxing Day. which is after Christmas. So,
What is Boxing Day near?
Anyways,
Boxing Day is effectively Canadian Black Friday. Like, you just go and buy shit.
But near you don't have any Black Friday deals on that day.
Yeah, we have Boxing Day deals.
Is it actual boxing or is it like? Why is it called Boxing Day?
I don't know. I've never looked it up, but as a kid, I always assumed it was just like it was called Boxing Day because they're trying to like box up and get rid of all the Christmas shit.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't even know. I don't know if that's even remotely
the only
true.
thing I could think of was like Boxer Rebellion. Boxer Rebellion when you
I don't
just
know,
have
man.
Boxing Day.
I
But yeah,
think of
it
I
was
think of
like
Manny Pacquiao, but apparently it's the feast of Saint Stephen, the first Christian martyr. I don't know.
okay.
This custom is
Okay.
linked to an older British tradition where the servants of the wealthy were allowed to visit the next day to visit their families
Oh,
since
so
they
it's
would
like
have
the
to
it's like trickle
have
down,
had
but like way
to
very
serve
very
their
old.
masters on
Wow.
Christmas Day.
Yeah, it's literally trickle down, but very 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 old.
Wow, it's House Elf Christmas. That's sad.
So of course.
In Victorian times, the wealthy would box up items they no longer needed, give to the poor. So
For a
that's
minute
why it's
there,
called
for a
Boxing
minute
Day.
near, I thought you said they were gonna box up their servants, and I was like,
I mean,
oh,
they probably did
Yeah,
that
exactly.
too.
Box up items that they didn't need anymore to give to the poor.
Yeah, like servants.
Alright. Anyways, thank you, Toast. What about you, Dark?
Yeah, I mean, Game Awards, Game Awards happen.
what was your favorite game there, Dark?
Alan Wake 2, obviously.
I heard it's
I
pretty
don't know,
good actually.
I like Baldur's Gate, but Alan Wake 2 is kind of amazing. So
How many
yeah, that
times
was
are they gonna
my
cut that?
favorite.
How many times are they gonna cut that poor man off every time he gets an award?
Dude,
They did it to him at
I
the
will
Golden
say
Joysticks, and they did it to him here again at the Game Awards.
I will say I think the Game Awards, I thought the pacing was like some of the best that they've ever had. But they definitely they could have allocated more time to people to like let them fucking speak. It was a little it was a little silly how fast some of those were going.
How do you feel about
But it was
how do you
fun. There
feel
were some
about
great announcements.
Kojima being there every year, and now he has a surprise collaboration dude to work with?
I genuinely don't care about the Kojima game, if I'm being honest, because like
We don't even know if
we
it's a
have
game.
no idea what the fuck it is, and he like called it a game, but not a game, but a movie and a game
My bet,
and a
my
different
bet.
piece of media, which could also just mean it's a game with a lot of fucking cutscenes.
I
Because
mean,
Kojima really likes doing that.
remember, MGS4 still has the award for the longest cutscene at like 40 minutes.
Yeah. So,
My take though,
who
I bet it's
knows?
going to be like Silent Hill Ascension, but maybe slightly better because
Yeah.
there's actual money going into this.
I mean,
Which,
I don't know. We will see. But yeah, Game Awards is pretty solid. Other than that, I have been just kind of catching up on other stuff. Been keeping up with shows. Burned through like all of the Apothecary Diaries after Nier's review, so that was interesting. That was fun. That's probably going to be like one of my surprise hits of the year. And then other than that, I've just kind of been keeping up with stuff. Been doing more gotcha gaming, Picked up TOF to mess around with it again. Because apparently they're doing a reboot server for that game, so that seems interesting. Where they're gonna make it, not a game that you just fucking whale and brute force MMO mechanics, and they're just making it an actual balanced game in one of the servers, where there's almost no difference between like whales and non-whales. and you just can use the weapons you want, and you just have to fulfill like the tank, healer, or DPS role, and then you're good. So
Mhm.
sounds like they're making the game like playable. So I've just been messing around in that. But yeah, I think other than that, yeah, just Alan Wake, a little bit of Lethal Company, and that's about it.
All right, pretty good. As thank you very much, Dark. As for myself,
How
I
do
haven't
you
been
feel
up to
about the Game Awards, Spire? What's your favorite game?
my favorite game. I don't know because like
Name
most of
every
them aren't
game.
out yet. Yeah, like they are out yet for the most part,
Name
right?
one
So,
game you're looking forward to from the Game
I'm looking
Awards.
forward to the Wukong game. I think. I mean, like I'll watch people play Jet Set Radio, but I'm not like I've never been a fan of it.
Near, get him.
What?
You get him. He
I'm not
hates
gonna.
Jet
I'm
Set
not gonna
Radio.
fucking.
Spire is looking really forward to getting his hands on Lego Fortnite.
Yeah,
True.
that too, and the Fortnite multiverse.
Yeah, Fortnite Racing. He's been playing so much. So that's been cool.
All right.
Where's Skies
But
of
yeah,
Arcadia 2? Or my Skies of Arcadia remake? Or HD? I'm still waiting, Sega. You announced all those games, but where's my Skies of Arcadia? I know you
but
have it. They've been teasing it for like 12 years. It's like, oh hey, what Sega games do you like? Skies of Arcadia? Interesting.
but yeah, I haven't been up to too much. Again, just running around a little bit in real life. Uh, I've been kind of yeah, most of it just running around in real life, just preparing because my younger brother is coming to town soon, so I've been cleaning up a little bit. But
Do you like
um,
anime as well?
he
And sushi.
does.
Who's his
And
favorite
sushi.
BTS member?
Who is his favorite? He was born in Korea, unlike, or not born in Korea. He was born in America, unlike myself. So he is not very in tune with all of the BTSs.
You know,
He's
I
not.
went.
He's not.
That
He's not
sounds like he
biologically
should be
He's
coded
not
more.
an
to like
army.
K-pop.
Yeah, yeah.
You
I
know,
feel
I
like
went
that should
to.
make him more susceptible.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
I went. I went to a Korean mall outlet like maybe a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and I saw a BTS gachapon, and there were a bunch of little boys and girls huddled all around it, and I was like, damn, I don't know who any of these guys are.
But yeah, I mean, he's not really.
What's his favorite anime?
I Shield 21.
Damn. Okay.
That's an excellent. Oh, and what's your favorite anime, Spire?
My favorite anime?
Sakura
I,
Trigger.
yeah, Sakura the Trig.
Yeah.
Because I Shield
Uh,
21's a pretty good choice. I'm not gonna say anything bad about I Shield 21.
but yeah, he likes mostly like sports and action stuff. He's very much diametrically opposed to my preferences because I'm like for all
So
slice
you're
of life and
saying
rom com stuff
So
like
you're
that.
so
saying
you're gonna have to fight him on top of the Tower of Babel, right?
Pretty much is that how it works. We are the next like fake Grand Order animation. Pretty much is how this works out. But yeah, I'm preparing for my brother coming in, so he'll be here for about a month, stuff like that. So um
can you beat him in a
yeah, I
fight?
mean I don't know. I mean he's pretty strong, so I don't know. But anyways, that's been pretty much it. Pretty quiet. I've watched, 16 Business Station and so watched some of the other series, kept up with the stuff I was watching, especially like Firefighter Daigo stuff. So it's been pretty standard for me as well. Anyways, uh, let's move on to our first series here. We have
It's my turn.
Toast.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi, it's me. I watched S rank Musume. I don't know.
Yes. I
Wait,
can
is
read it
that
here. Yeah.
is that the
It's like
actual?
Yeah,
That's
that's
the
like
actual
the
acronym, right?
shortened.
That's like, yeah,
Really?
that should be the short one. Yeah, S rank Musume, which is short for the localized title is My Daughter Left the Nest and Returned an S rank adventurer, and the Japanese full title is 冒険者になりたいと都に出ていた娘が S ランクになってた. This is probably a Naroke one, right?
Yes.
Mm. Yeah. Now it's an anime. What studio is it by?
I don't
It's
know.
Typhoon Graphics. What the fuck? I've never heard of this show.
You'll never.
Oh, they did like a lot of assistant stuff
I
and
bet you'll
weird
never
and like
hear of
smaller
these
stuff. Yeah.
producers either, because there's a lot. Yeah.
Mm.
Apparently, One Room Spire. You like one? You watched One Room, right? Was that? Didn't you like One Room? They did One Room.
That was like
I
the first
didn't
person
like it.
thing,
I
right?
watched like one episode of
Yeah.
it.
They did Roommate. I don't know what that is. Kanajo. Was this why Raeliana ended up at the Duke's mansion? Was this the ATX one or the R18 one? I don't remember. No, I didn't watch this one. So yeah, a relatively smallish, I guess, company. But for some reason, there was a ton of producers on this. I guess the main one is NBC Universal Entertainment Japan. For
That's
some
how it
reason,
goes for producers these days, I feel. It's just a fucking huge list nowadays.
there's Bilibili, Earthstar Entertainment, and I guess that makes sense because the voice cast in this is pretty big. You've got the main. See the main? You've got the main father, Belgrieve the Red Ogre. He's voiced by Junichi Suwabe. Then you've got his daughter Angeline, voiced by Hayami Saori. And like even the supporting characters are pretty big too. There's a bunch. The three noble sisters in this set. There's the Bordeaux family, which is like three noble sisters. The oldest one, Helvetica, is voiced by Marina Inoue. Then you got the second daughter is Mizuno Saku, and then you got the third daughter who's Kana Ichinose.
Yeah, this looks like a
This is a
very
really
like a pretty fitting casting, honestly, right? Except for like, oh man, Schweiss. It's been a while since Shimonohiro has taken on like a weird, more sinister role, right? Schweiss, I'm guessing, is a
no
villain role.
Spire. It's called Last Year.
Oh, okay.
This guy
But
this
yeah,
guy didn't watch Kamen Rider Geats.
yeah. I apologize, but yeah, this seems like a pretty good casting overall, right? Pretty fitting voice for all of them.
Okurumi, Nanagawa Maria, and
Mhm.
Fyro's Eye is is that Marguerite? Marguerite? Yeah, there's a lot, and the guild master is Sugita. Like I said, this is a very extensive list of professionals in this series that I don't get, but maybe it's because it's NBC Universal. So they're like, okay, we'll cram as many as we can. But yeah, so the story. But yeah, that's. I'm just saying that's my take on the voice cast. It's a very A-list professionals. So the story is that the dude, Junichi Suwabe, Belgrieve, he he's you, the famous joke. I guess the Japanese really like the famous joke as well,
Mhm.
because Belgrieve, when he was younger, he used to be an adventurer, but instead of got hit by an arrow in the knee, no, he lost his leg in a fight early on, so he had to retire as an E rank adventurer. And like when he's older, I guess 25-ish, he finds a baby in the woods and adopts it. That's his adopted daughter Angeline. Then 12 years later, she goes off to become an adventurer, and 5 years later, she's now S rank. Yeah.
So is this like how? What is this episodic or is this like mini arcs? What's happening here?
There's, I mean, there's 11 episodes of this, and So far, there's one main plot, but I don't know if they'll be able to wrap it up because it's a bit too grandiose for 13 episodes. So the main thing is, there's it's a typical thing where since she's an S-rank adventurer, she has to go on these difficult missions, and the overlying thing is that the Demon Kings are rising up again, and lo and behold, it's the famous trope of who these Demon Kings are. There's 72 Demon
Wait,
Kings.
but like Belgrieve is he traveling along with the
No,
daughter?
no,
So it's
he's
just
in
two
the,
perspectives,
I
or is it just
guess
Angeline?
there's two
Okay. So
perspectives.
it's just back and
There's
forth. Okay.
So there's Belgrieve hanging out and doing things in the town because he's retired, and then there's Angeline doing stuff as an S-rank adventurer.
Oh, so it's like one of those things where it's like Angeline like defeats a whole bunch of monsters and looks cool, but on the inside she's like, oh man, I want to get back to my dad or
Hell
whatever,
yeah,
right?
that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
basically her whole character
Okay.
archetype.
Got him.
But
Got
yeah,
it.
do you get why there's 72 Demon Kings? Get it? Get
Wait,
it?
what?
Get it, Near?
Wait,
Near gets it. I
why?
believe in you, Near.
Uh,
Do you know
I
why
mean,
there's
yeah,
70? Yeah,
yeah.
say it, Near.
It's like the Sumerian legend, right? For
Yeah, the book
Solomon.
is it's always Solomon. Why is it always Solomon? Solomon and
'Cause
his 72 demon kings are wreaking havoc across the
yeah,
world. And that's why Angeline's always busy. But the main point of the story is Angeline's busy fighting demon kings, but all she does wants to do is go home and hang out with her dad because it's been 5 years since she left. And that's the plot of episodes 1 to 3. And
Is
basically,
there?
after that,
uh, Okay.
what? No, continue. What's your question?
I was just wondering. I don't. Have you read the web novel?
I
Any?
read the manga because manga has
Okay.
chapters.
So does the manga have like a decent amount of chapters, or is it just like 14 chapters, some shit like that?
It's pretty. Let me check. I want to say there's quite a few chapters.
Okay. So like, is this?
35 have been translated.
I guess this is a little bit of a spoiler, but are there any like parts where the daughter and the father come together? Because that I would
That's
expect that would be the
that's
biggest.
that is the biggest. That's after episode 3, and that's all
Okay.
arguably the most important parts of the series.
Yeah, the best and the most. Yeah, exactly.
I'd
Yeah.
I'd say that's. I guess you'd call this slow life. Well, I'd probably put this in the slow life genre because the most interesting part is when Angeline's at home. Then everyone that Angeline meets in her travels, they also visit her dad, and then wacky hijinks ensues.
Oh, she becomes jealous or whatever. Is that
No,
part of
not
it?
really. She's like, "Oh,
Oh,
look at
okay.
my dad! Isn't he so cool?" I guess she's more proud of her dad than that,
Okay.
whatnot. But I mean, she is a bit of a father con, but I don't care. Whatever. It's not
So
that
the
weird
like
yet.
episode 4 onwards is like they're all kind of together and the basis is slow life, but then because it's like the S rank daughter and like there's like all this like like bad stuff surrounding them or like danger surrounding them or whatever, um they go out and take care of it, right? That's sort of how it happens.
It's what do you mean by they? Because
I guess is it
Belgrieve, but
mainly Angeline that just
main,
goes out and solves all the problems?
contrary to the what the title says, Angeline is the one who does the most in the series because Belgrieve, her father, really doesn't leave the town all that much.
Mm-hmm.
So, like most of the stuff that happens between them is at their house and like in their village. But when
Mm-hmm.
Angeline goes out and does stuff, that's a whole different like story arc. She's out there fighting
Oh,
demons and
so it
stuff.
keeps splitting the perspectives. Like whenever Angeline goes out, it keeps being like, oh, Angeline's doing all of this like serious stuff while
And, and
Belgrieve
then
is doing slow life stuff.
yeah, and then she goes home and then they do stuff. And like that's
Hmm.
basically what the
Okay.
series is.
Okay.
That's why I file it under slow life.
Yeah. I think that's
Because
fine.
Well, there's this overarching plotline about, hey, there's demon kings, and there's this cult trying to resurrect the demon kings. But in the end, it gets settled when they introduce Belgrieve, because spoiler, there's quite a few. I mean, would you call them young girls? He's like 40, so he's
What?
like four.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, most of the problems can be solved by the way of family. So, like, hey, Angeline brings home a troubled young child to Belgrieve's like, all right, I'll handle it. And he solves it by the power of being a cool dad. I guess
Okay.
there's
Nice.
like there's a little girl abandoned by her parents, I guess. She's a she's a prodigious member of the cult that's trying to resurrect the demon kings, but then like, oh, she sees Belgrieve as a father figure. So now she's like, okay, never mind, I'll be a good girl. And I was like, damn, all right. And then there's
Dang.
another little girl character who's also I guess misguided, and then Belgrieve encounters her and she's like, damn, okay, I guess I'll be good now. So a lot of this, like a lot of the plot is solved by being a good father.
Mhm.
That also ties into like
Real life.
the three noble ladies that like oversee this entire area of where they live. The oldest one, or let's see, Angeline saves the youngest one by happenstance, and then she tells him all about her cool dad. And then the second one, who's also an adventurer, she's like, "Oh, I heard from your S-rank daughter that you trained her, and she's never beaten you. So I have to fight you." And then she gets beaten, like, "Oh, I'll call you master." And then the oldest one was like, "Oh, I heard you're so cool. Let me marry you." And I was like, "Oh, damn. He's got that riz, as the Gen Alphas call it." So yeah, guess. Thanks, Angeline. Your father's so cool. He solves everything that you can't. And I
Can
mean, I
I?
guess that's the point of his thing.
Yeah, I mean that's like the point of the entire like series, right? So,
His
um,
thing too is he brings in a lot of characters under the father role as well, right?
Yeah.
Because like a lot of characters wound up being like was it Angeline's other party members
Oh yeah.
are
Then they're like, oh,
orphans. So then like
mhm.
he like they treat him like a father figure almost too.
he's got all. Yeah. So he's not just got one S-rank daughter. He's got everyone as a daughter. Even the elf, who's older, but who cares? She's a female and she looks younger than him. She counts as a daughter too. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only one who's not a daughter is the old lady. The old lady dragon slayer. She's what, 68. So she's not a daughter. Everyone else, we can file them under daughter. But yeah. That's literally the story. I don't know how they can make a good conclusion in 2 episodes left, because this is 13
I
episodes.
mean they're just gonna run off into the sunset. Like they're just gonna finish off the mini arc and then it's done, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean that's like par for the course. I don't
One
think that's
one
too bad,
daughter, two
considering
daughters.
it's like a yeah, considering it's like a 12 episode soul life stuff with a relatively like standard set of episodic, not episodic, a mini arc stuff. I don't think that's too bad, to be honest. Um,
When you
how's
start
the
off
open?
with one daughter and you end up with 3 or 4 by
All
almost the
the
end of this
daughters, yeah.
episode. Like, it's not even counting
This
the party
reminds me of the
members.
old fucking that YouTube like skit like that was super way back. The daughters clip, if anybody remembers.
Which one?
Fucking, but anyways, um, how's the opening ending?
The opening. What was the opening? The opening's all right. Would I put it on best best opening of this year? No. I believe the opening is Soundgarden. Was it Soundgarden? Sen, Yoshino, Nanjo. I saw Soundgarden in there. It's all right. But the one thing I have to bring up is the visuals. The visuals are weird, man.
How so?
They've I don't know how to describe it, but if you're like if you're a nuanced isekai watcher like me, you'd get it. It's neither like it's got that. You know how most isekais have this certain look nowadays. It's I want to say it's brightly colored, like, medieval-like, but this one's slightly watered down. I want to say
Okay.
it's watercolor
Yeah,
esque.
it's weird. It is like desaturated, I think is what
Yeah, the
you're trying to
desaturated is a
say.
good word.
Oh, ew. Okay.
So it's not like it's not super bright like I guess a mouse on a retry. It's more along the lines of I guess Slime Tensei. Is that what I want to say?
I think that's fair. Yeah, it's weird though. I would say like it's Slime Tensei, but like it's odd because it has more of like a. It has a far more. It uses like I feel like more cooler colors or like more
Yeah,
cooler variants of colors.
yeah. It watercolored in a way that it kind of looks like. I always bring this up when we have our stuff about Valkyria Chronicles. So I say watercolor desaturated.
Oh, okay, yeah,
It's
that's
not.
actually a pretty apt one.
It's not. It's not that bright, but I guess they want to make it look more storybook. Is want to say, and then like at and then if because if like at the high end you've got those isekai, and then at the lower end I want to say is also Mushoku Tensei. So it sits somewhere closer to Mushoku Tensei slash Slime Tensei over other brighter looking isekais. Does that make sense? I don't know. It's pretty hard to explain in a way.
H- how are the other parts of the? I guess
Or
anything else on?
maybe I want to say Frieren looks brighter than this. I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, free run is definitely. I, I think
I would
there's
say
also like a
this
different tone to
series
free run.
persistently has
Sure.
like the colder scenes in Frieren, like
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
more wintry
Hmm.
slash like fall scenes in Frieren. It's like
Yeah,
persistently
that's fair.
has
That's
like
fair.
that sort of color palette.
Hmm.
Okay, and I also I brought that up because CGI in this series is pretty bad. The most glaring one is the horses. The horses look stock, and there was quite a few horses in this series because they travel quite a bit of travel. So they traveling carriages, and these horses look super stock.
I mean, the thing is, like, this studio cannot have had like first this studio cannot have had much money to create this to begin with. So it's like I'm like almost expecting it, but it's still like a little bit unfortunate that they they got those static horses there.
But yeah, I
Yeah.
also bring this up because when they try to use, there's this one. There's I want to say several scenes where Angeline and her party are fighting various demons and monsters in what is that called? Is it nuclear fallout? Fallout? Ashen fallout? You know how a volcano? You know when a volcano erupts and there's like soot and debris falling from the sky?
Yeah.
Fallout. Yeah.
I guess yeah, fallout. They're fighting in a fallout, and
Oh, okay.
there's like
Sure.
black particles flying around. It doesn't
Oh,
look
it's
good.
CGI particles. Oh,
It
I know what you're
doesn't
talking
look
about.
good.
Yeah, I know. It's like that thing where it's like how in like arcade games, or not like in arcade games, but it's like in horror games, if you get like the blood splats or splatters, or like somebody spits acid onto you, you get those splats on the screen. Is it like that kind of,
Yeah.
but like hovering
Oh,
around?
they're moving. It's not hovering around. They're moving. They're like
Yeah,
they're
they
like in
just
the
look like
wind,
particles. Weird.
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
clashes horribly.
It's probably like
It,
a
it,
stock fucking
it probably is. I'm
asset, to be
very
Oh,
much
honest.
another
stuck.
really bad one is the magic too.
Yeah.
Especially the one that guy has, the cube magic does not look too hot.
It's not.
Kind of just
CGI is
throws
pretty
around
bad.
magic CGI cubes that
And the
get
fight
bigger.
scenes. The fight scenes are pretty off at certain points. Wait, if you look carefully. So, yeah, CGI not good. Does it take away from several scenes? Absolutely. But nothing too bad, I guess. I can see why. This is why some people rate it like mid to low. But I guess I can argue that the fight scenes are not all that what's important. It's the relationship between the daughter and her dad, I guess, which is arguably the best part of the series. Like when they do stuff together, that's when everything else is kind of bad. But yeah,
Yeah, I think when you see that soot scene you mentioned, like that should be the indicator for someone watching the show to be like, "Oh, okay, yeah, no, the fight. This is not about the fights. This is the
yeah,
fight. Like this is nothing about the fights."
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Anything
overall,
else? Yeah.
very
Anything
very
else on the
cool
audience
slice of
response?
life. People might not like it, but I do. I like Junichi Suabe as Belgrieve, the Red Ogre. But yeah, heartwarming story of a dad just being a cool stay-at-home dad and his daughter off saving the world and then coming home for rest and relaxation before saving the world again. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Toast.
My
Again,
my
this
rating.
is.
Let's.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yes.
I had a thought. Is it how many points should I give a series? Like how many points do I give a series to say like I like this series for what it was, even though it's bad? Is like how many points?
Even though what's bad?
Even though it's like mid to not so good, but it's because I'm super biased toward this series that I'll give it a high score regardless. How many points is that? Is that worth 3 or 4 points?
I think that
Out
I
of
think
10?
if it's I think if something is like mid but you still liked it, that's like a decent like 6 or 5.5, right? Like
Yeah, I will definitely give it a 5 because it's like if 10 because like you have to imagine 10. I think this is a good conversation because it's like you have to imagine 10 as sort of the box of potential, right? That the series can be in because it's like you wouldn't like if I'm comparing this or if I'm rating the series, right? I wouldn't make 10 be Evangelion, right? Like that doesn't make sense because I'm not at that point I'm not comparing apples and oranges at all. So 10 would be like if you could idealize this series, what would it be? And if you're just like, oh, well, it's not the best form of that, but it's like it's kind of in the middle, then I think it's definitely like a 5 or like as near side a 6 or something like that.
Yeah. I want to say, I guess if you don't like the anime or think it's kind of subpar, just read the manga. The manga's way better, I guess.
Okay.
Art style wise, the manga's very similar to the anime, so
Yeah.
just read the manga. But yeah, going off of that scale, Spire 5.5 to a 6. With my bias, that makes it a 9 out of 10. Are you sure?
I don't
I don't
think
think
that's
that's
how
how
it
that.
works, man.
I don't
Yeah.
think that's
See.
how the math works out.
So you're saying 3 points is too generous? Maybe two. Maybe two then.
I don't think you have to add it on, but
So
I
yeah.
think you should.
So
Yeah.
going by that score, this series is an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
That is not how I told you to calculate you, Fab, but okay.
Fine. Seven plus
7
2 in brackets out of
plus
10.
2 plus 2.
That makes it 9 minus 2.
Oh my
I
god.
like this series. Why? Because I like the it's all about family moments in this. Also, Junichi Shizuabe, very good casting. A plus, A plus. Like the casting is really good. So
Yeah,
even
yeah,
if you
for
don't
sure.
like
Yeah,
this
if you just look
series,
at the casting, it's good.
even though if you don't like the series, read the manga.
All right. Well, anyways, thank you very much, Toast, for helping cover this series. I know in terms of like not isekais, but like the sort of like power fantasy, like slice of life or feudal fantasy, power fantasy, high fantasy. I hate having to repeat that like the fantasy thing twice, but yeah, power fantasy, high fantasy. Um, I guess it's not even a power fantasy, right? It's like just
Oh,
a high fantasy soul life kind of thing.
how? I mean,
Um,
how do you? It's no power fantasy, I guess.
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean
it's not
the
a power
I
Esrin,
fantasy.
mean,
It's just soul life. It's just
the
soul life.
daughter is also like she's strong, but she's very much
I
not
guess like
like
are you like
invincible.
would the people would be inserting yourself into the role of the father? Is that how it would work? But even then, it's
who would
kind of like
want
whatever.
to insert themselves into the father, unless you're some sort of pervert?
Some people are
True.
just daughter cons, man. Yeah, but yeah. Anyways, high fantasy soul life. If you
It's
enjoy the
way
search
better than
series,
the other Osan series of this
yeah, yeah, yeah.
caliber. Yeah, unfortunately.
So if you do want to watch this, please check it out. Maybe read the web novel slash manga. It is okay. 冒険者になりたいと、 S ランクになった。 Or My Daughter Left the Nest and Returned as an S rank adventurer, also known as S rank Musume. So please do check it out when you have the time. Next on the list, and Ark, what do you have for us?
I have what is translated to the Yuzuki family's four sons. I'm not even gonna attempt. Well, actually, no. It'd be what is it? It's Yuzuki-san, Chino Yonkyoudai, right? I think that's how you would say that.
Uh,
Um,
Yuzuki-san, right? I think. Yeah,
yeah, Chino
it's
Yonkyoudai.
Yuzuki-san. Yeah, Yuzuki-san Chi. So it's like it's all one thing because it's like their house. Yuzuki-san Chi no Yonkyoudai. Yeah, it is.
Okay.
That is how it's pronounced. Yeah,
Yeah, listen, I'm
or
I'm
the four
white, so I
brothers
got a
of Yuzuki.
debuff.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm
The
I'm
Yuzuki
debuffed
family's
on
four
that.
sons. Is this? Yeah, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Is this manga original?
It sure is. This is a manga original. This is
Okay.
from Studio Shuka. They have done a lot of like really I'm not really sure if they are the main on some of these, but they have quite a bit under their belt. If so, but they have like 91 days, Durara, um, what is it? The Yujincho series as well. Um, yeah, which actually just makes up a lot of it realistically, which like is enough. I would say to say that they've done a lot, because that's a lot of fucking series at that point. But yeah, and this is also, I guess, I may as well just also do the director at the same time. This is coming from the director of a little series called Crayon Shin-chan. So
Yeah,
he's
just a small, yeah.
yeah, a little unknown, a little lesser known series. Yeah, so he's done Crayon Shin-chan, World Trigger. He's done the Bookworm Isekai as well as the
Oh,
director.
okay. You like that quite a bit, yeah, actually.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that quite a lot. So yeah, pretty good stuff there. Pretty good credentials there.
Hmm.
And yeah, this is about, I guess, I could probably just do the synopsis myself. It's for,
Yep.
this might shock you, but this is about four brothers. And the series kind of cold opens on one episode, and it kind of just builds it up over the episode of like sort of the backstory. But the backstory is just that they lost their parents relatively recently, within the last several years, or a year or so. And this is kind of just like the trials and tribulations of them now, kind of like coping with that. The oldest brother taking care of everyone now as a school teacher. Though some of the flashbacks flashback to when he was like, like a senior in college when like their parents first passed. And yeah, it just gets into sort of the day-to-day dramas of that, of sort of coping with that. Certain traumas come up of that, and also just kind of adapting to that life and the people around
I'm
them.
curious because it's like, how much character development and inter-episode kind of flow is there in between the episodes? Because I'm guessing it's a very episodic on face, but obviously from what you just said slash implied, there has to be some sort of, again, inter-episode development, right?
So there is like episodes are usually kind of combined into
A bunch of
or
mini
separated or
episodes.
no,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
not at all.
Oh, okay.
It's actually each episode it's either episodic or like a couple of episodes in an arc, and it's usually focusing on like one
Okay.
brother or one aspect of
Oh,
one
it's mini
brother.
arc. Okay, okay, okay.
If
Okay.
not like their relation to each other. So like I believe the first episode, yeah, the first episode is more so the I guess you would consider him middle. Because the way the ages go, there is the youngest who is I think he's a first grader now. Yeah, I think he's first grader. In the flashbacks, he's kindergarten. Um, then there is the other two, which are both 12-year-olds, but one is 11 months older. So like the taller one. And then the oldest one being now like fresh out of college, essentially 23 and a school teacher.
Mhm.
And so like the first episode revolves around the youngest kind of wanting to go to this fireworks show that their parents used to take them to, but that he doesn't really remember much of. But now that he's in like first grade, like he wants to see them, but he doesn't want to. Like they all have like their own shtick as well. The youngest brother's is he doesn't want to make trouble for anyone, especially the oldest. So he kind of doesn't. So his sort of thing is like kind of a more typical shtick of he doesn't really like act his age. Essentially, he acts way more mature.
Right, right,
And
right.
isn't really open with the other brothers of like what he would want, especially if it would like be an inconvenience to them, whether it be a gift or whether it be something that would require like the oldest brother to take time off or put him under a little like any more stress or anything. And then that episode winds up revolving around the sort of middle son. um I should probably give names too. The youngest is Gakuto, the sort of more energetic the more energetic 12-year-old is Minato. The older, more aloof one is Mikoto, the 11 like one that's 11 months older, and then the oldest is Hayato. Um and so the first episode is Minato taking Gakuto to this fireworks show and like festival by himself with his savings to not like um what do you call it, to not bother the oldest brother. And
Right.
Minato's shtick is that he is like, since he's like the second youngest, and Mikoto is still technically older than him, he has a semi like inferiority complex where he wants to show up for Gakuto as like the older brother. Even though that there are three that are technically older than him and like more responsible, etc. And so his thing is he usually winds up screwing up with the best intentions more than anything. And yeah, so that episode revolves around, he takes him there. He doesn't show up at home late at night, and then the older brothers find out anyway that they went to this fireworks show, and then in like a panic, they wind up going there to find them. And all the meanwhile, like Gakuto gets lost, and then they find him on the way to see Minato anyway. And so it sort of like resolves itself, and then the episode closes with them being like, every year we should make time to come see these fireworks, like regardless. And like the older brother saying, like, like I can take time off, like I will for this. Um,
Mhm.
and that's usually like how episodes wind up resolving. It's more so of like a very cheesy, like corny, like coming together scene. Um, because a lot of the fights are very like non-serious in most cases, or like the conflicts, and a lot of it either stems from that or misunderstandings, etc. But
Mhm.
it is a very cute show. It's a very wholesome show, and I would say
Is
the
it
cast is
so?
very strong, as well as the voice cast.
So I'm curious again. You have like the mini arcs, right? And it's like obviously they're developing a little bit more of these like interactions throughout each of the mini arcs, although it is focused on like sort of each like sibling, right? But it's like, um, but is it obvious what sorts of developmental changes the author is aiming for with each of the sibling, as the anime reaches its conclusion?
Yeah, so like after the first episode, Minato, it's kind of focused on something resolving for Minato, which is being able to be looked at as at least slightly more responsible to the others. So, he learns to rely on like Mikoto for more guidance of becoming like more
Right.
responsible. But he also
Mhm.
himself gets the opportunity to help out, to become more responsible. And the oldest brother understanding that like, he's not just making trouble to make trouble, essentially.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
because there was like a whole scene where he turns off the oldest brother's alarm clock. Um, because he's usually waking up like extremely early to make everyone like their lunches and breakfast.
Mhm.
Um, so then he like turns off his alarm clock and makes breakfast himself, but the breakfast he made is like absolutely awful. Like toast is burnt, eggs are burnt. Um, and yeah, so that's kind of like there is a step forward in that case. There's another episode where it kind of goes into the backstory of Mikoto and Minato, and that Mikoto wasn't like they actually didn't get along at all. Um,
Mhm.
when they were younger, I guess like the big thing about this series is more so of like a hierarchy of doting, if you will. Um,
Mhm.
where the old, I mean, the old is like takes care of everyone essentially as sort of like the money maker anyway. Um, but beyond that, Mikoto, the more aloof 12-year-old, I think he's supposed to be 12. Yeah, I think he's supposed to be 12 because they're the same grade, but again, 11 months older. So I guess he could be 13 now. But he dotes on Minato, and then Minato dotes on Gakuto.
Mhm.
Um, and so like one of I guess one of the more blatant developments would have been there's a backstory episode where it runs through Mikoto and Minato not getting along when they were younger, um, and then getting into like a big fight, um, because Mikoto wanted to just kind of like be left alone and just sees Minato as like just someone who keeps breaking all of his toys and things like that. And
Right.
then the development there is more so of Hayato um, explaining to him how he sees his younger brothers. Because Mikoto's like, oh, why don't you get mad like whenever I make trouble or whenever like I like damage something of yours, like, and yet like when Minato does it for me, like it makes me so mad. And he explains to him, like, oh well, it's because like I just see you two as like kids, like you're not
Mhm.
like he's just like I don't care because he's he's like 10 years older than them or whatever. Um,
Mhm.
and so like during that flashback, he was like 16 or something. Um, he was like, yeah, you're like kids. Like there's not really a whole lot you're gonna do that's really gonna really gonna irk me. And
Mhm.
so then that turns into sort of a defining moment for Mikoto where he winds up taking on the big brother role for Minato and like helping him with school
Oh,
and
okay.
stuff like that, and then getting praise, and especially getting praise from their mother, about like, oh
And
wow, like
that
you're such a
does
great
that
big brother.
continue? That, does that sort of relationship change continue on to the next like episodes?
So that kind of continues, and it turns into almost like a shtick because Mikoto, it turns into like
Okay. That's good.
Mikoto like looks aloof in a lot of these things, but then it shows like a much more cartoony, like with a golden like aura behind him. Because his
Mhm.
shtick is they're like he's like the Buddha. He's like reached nirvana in his brother complex, where everything that Minato does and acts like crass towards him in like almost like a tsundere type way, like
Mhm.
only like gives him enjoyment. and like and he's like, wow, yeah, he's only like this because he really likes me as his big brother. um
Mm.
and so that's like his big shtick, and so he's usually shown in a lot of comedic shots with like that, what was it called, it is like the halo that the Buddha has behind him, like
Mhm.
the halo that's usually like as a sort of like the flat circle or whatever behind him.
Mhm.
He's usually depicted in that in a lot of comedic stuff when like Minato is just being rude towards him essentially. After he like delivers him his lunch that he forgot or something like that. So yeah, so that shtick continues. Some like Minato's like a lot of Minato's development continues of trying to like step up and be and like a more responsible older brother to Gakuto continues. And then more developments with like Hayato continues on as well, with his of being what would you call it? Kind of like learning that he doesn't have to um what was it? I don't want to like spoil like a more defining moment, but his stuff is more so that like he can have his moments of sort of not having like disdain for his position, but having like
Right.
those sort of thoughts of like, damn, like what if I didn't have to take care of him, like imagine like the traveling and stuff that I could do and everything like that. He has
It's
like a
interesting that I do like how all these sorts of different developments are kind of panning out. Although it's like, yes, there are four characters and it's like all focusing them on and it's just kind of mixing them together. But given this sort of like simpler setting, it is interesting how all these sorts of developments are being produced pretty
yeah.
organically.
And I will say there is a very strong supporting cast that has a lot of screen time, which is the family across the street from them,
Mhm.
which was originally just an old man, a grandfather who's a very like aloof, who's a very stoic looking old man, voiced by Fumihiko Tachiki, who has
Mhm.
voiced quite a lot of old characters. He's very typecast because of his voice. Yeah, who would be the like more breakout? I guess it would be well, I mean, yeah, I guess it would be it's Gendo from Ava. So I guess that would be technically his like probably
I
most
think most
popular
of
role.
these are relatively, yeah. Most of these
So yeah,
are
so
kind
very
of,
gruff,
yeah.
very gravelly voiced characters and stuff like that, very stoic. And so
Mm.
there's like a whole thing of after their parents pass, like they think that this old man is kind of just like judging them because the brother took on, sort of more than he could probably handle by himself. And then their
Mm.
story arc turns into, this old man, this neighbor, um, uh, letting the youngest stay at his house when the oldest like fell asleep at school, like in college in one of his courses because he's been like so overworked essentially.
Mhm.
And then that sort of they come together, and the old guy is like, I've been trying to. He's like, I'm not really sure how to like talk to you guys about this, and I don't know if it's my business to say that like, I'm here if you guys need to rely on someone.
Mhm.
And so then it turns into like his family moving in with him as well, which consists of his daughter, who's a police officer, and I don't know, I think in her like either her late 20s or early 30s or something, with two kids. And so then it also turns into a coming together of the two families, where like Minato is best
Oh, it's
friends
like it's
with a
yeah.
tomboy, with like the tomboy daughter,
It's
and
like the
then the
girls versus
youngest,
the boys. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Okay.
yeah, and then the youngest is best friends with this other, like the more mild mannered, like younger brother is also in like first grade.
It
And then
kind of
it turns
reminds me
into
actually
hijinks
of
like with the two families essentially.
yeah. It kind of reminds me of actually well, I seem like a very I guess this kind of dates me a little bit, but it's like Um, if anybody has read sort of, I know a lot of people might have read like the initial like Anne of Green Gables, but it's like there's like a series of books after that that like kind of chronicles how that sort of Anne Shirley like marries her crush like Gilbert or whatever, and then makes like a family, and then like the family has like the kids, and like the kids all like have like like neighboring like other kids and like families that they all like get along with, and those kids sort of have like their opposing, not opposing, but it's like crushes on like another like families, like bunch of like boys or whatever it is. So it kind of reminds me of that, where it's like a lot of this development is very, again, like it kind of pops up out of the, it's like simple, but it organically pops up out of these sorts of like families being propped up against each other. And
Yeah,
they're just like,
it's
okay, you have these personalities, but you're kind of putting them in a room to kind of
yeah, and so
gestate.
it's like yeah, so it's like, you have Minato, who's like the very active young one, and then you have, the tomboy daughter from the other family who really get along. And then you have like the mother, the single mom, and the oldest brother get along and have like I said literally have like a mom's night at one point where they go out and grab drinks.
Mhm. Right.
Um yeah, and so it's very organic. It's a very wholesome show, and all the meanwhile, there is the undertone and the discussion of like certain aspects and certain like it's not like super. I mean, it's not like the most in depth, but the certain things of sort of certain conflicts that happen when growing up in like a family of either multiple brothers or just multiple siblings. Um, and
Mhm.
then there's like certain aspects with like Uta, like the tomboy's family, like the family across the street, like certain aspects of growing up with a single mom who like divorced their dad. And like, and then obviously the blatant one of growing up without like your parents, like, and that loss comes up, and there's even like a butting of heads between the two, between like
Mhm.
Minato and Uta when they were younger, of getting into conflict because like Uta was very what would you call it? Would have a lot of conflict with her mom. Like there is a whole thing of having conflict with her mom.
Oh, okay, okay.
Because like she doesn't understand that like her mom was like, well, I can't tell my kids like they're not able to see their father anymore because he was cheating on me like constantly. Like how do I tell them
Mhm.
that? And so since she didn't tell him that, like Uta was very sort of um what would you call it, like mean to her initially. And then that leads to a scene where Minato walks in on her having a conversation about it with the oldest brother Hayato, and he sees her crying. And
Mhm.
that there's literally like a sort of like a scene where they depict it of I guess you call it Minato being like triggered in the sense of like it literally cuts to a scene where it just has the Japanese text for mom, and then he gets into a massive like a fist fight with Uta over it, because he's like, his trauma is like how could you do that? Like, how could you do that to your mother? And shit like that, because he lost his. He's like, at least you have a mom to like try to talk this out with, even if she's not telling you everything. And so there's a lot of stuff like that comes up, and it's done. I would say it's done very well, and like you said, it feels very organic, because especially the slow way they introduce these things.
I'm also kind of curious. The like when the other like families, right, kind of come onto the scene, like the other kind of members start coming onto the scene outside of like the Yuzuki siblings. What happens to the screen time exactly? Because you mentioned like there's like a bunch like stories like how Uta like has the conflict with her mother and stuff like that. How does that balance out screen time wise? Because
So since they're
yeah,
paired up, it kind of becomes shared. So like for the because this also is
okay,
not in chronological order. This is
okay.
in like the episodes are, but there are plenty of flashbacks. Like there'll be an episode where they'll like have all these things, and someone will be like, "Man, like." With like the Minato and Mikoto episode, they're like, "Wow, you guys really get along." And then they'll be like, "But it wasn't always that way." And then it'll do like a flashback, and that'll be like the episode sort of establishing that relationship and how that changed over time. But with with the other family, with the Kirishimas, what they do is, again, they like pair them up. So like Uta is paired up with Minato, the mom Saki is paired up with Hayato. Um, I guess Mikoto is also paired up with Uta and Minato, since like they're the same age. He kind of gets roped in as sort of like the straight man in the group. Um, and then Gakuto is paired up with Waka, the youngest in their family. And so like when the episode focuses on one of them, like one of those sort of like age groups almost, it kind of like it pairs them up within that episode. So if it's like hijinks that
Oh, okay,
Minato and Mikoto are getting into, like Uta is a part of it as well.
okay.
And then the same thing with like Gakuto and Waka wind up like, they wind up
So
having
it's
sort of
like
the same
it's
trials and
like
tribulations.
not like a not on face, but it's like if you think about it, it is sort of a more gradual way to like properly introduce the characters, because it's like um I feel like if they had just almost entirely cut out like the Yuzuki family and then just been like, okay, this is the new family, we're just gonna run a couple of mini arcs based on those guys, um it would
Yeah,
have been
so
a lot more. It would have had the feeling of like, okay, you're just kind of running through the characters one by one, right? Like, but this
yeah,
makes it feel a little bit more
The
gradual.
Kirishimas are very much supporting, like a supporting cast.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not given their own specific episodes really, because
Mm-hmm.
like the episode where you learn why Saki divorced her husband and why that family, like they're living with their grandfather now, like her father. The reason why like that kicks off with the episode where they're like, "Oh, Minato and Uta didn't always get along, and like here's why." And so like that's kind of how they
Mm-hmm.
establish that. And like that's also how Saki gets more screen time when like Hayato goes to like a high school reunion and feels ostracized because he's like a caregiver now, like he is a guardian of
Right, right.
his three brothers, and acts like they call him an auntie, like they call him an obasan, um
Yeah.
behind his back, and that like that makes him super depressed, but then he goes out like drinking with Saki, and
Right, right.
um she's like, yeah, this will be like our mom's night out. And so like
Okay.
that gives them more establishment, like more development together. And then
Right.
yeah, and like I said, like since like Gakuto and Waka are in the same, like since they're in the same grade and in the same class as well, there's like another like sort of mini arc with those two getting into something like involving their class. I'm not gonna give away everything just because it's like I think this series is fantastic. I wouldn't have gone on about it so much if I didn't. And I think it's definitely worth a viewing. And yeah, I think this is probably one of the most underrated anime of this season, definitely.
Yeah,
if not of this year.
from the way you speak
Like,
about it, it definitely does seem underrated.
yeah.
Can I just ask a quick question about the audio visuals? Just overview.
They're very good. They are very, very good. I think not only are I mean, so it's not so like
This
the
is
audio
also by a
visuals
much
are
smaller studio, right? Like it's called
this
Shuka
is
Studio, I
like
think.
Shuka's not really that small.
Oh
Like I
wait, they
said,
did Durara?
they've
What the
done
fuck?
yeah, they're Durara, they did 91
Oh, okay.
Days, and most importantly I would say is probably Natsume Yujinsho.
Oh, okay.
Like
Wow.
the fact that
No, they
they're in
did this.
charge of
Okay,
that,
okay.
it's like, well,
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
lot. That's like a bulk of their work, and why wouldn't it be, considering that fucking show has like a million seasons, and like movies and shit. So, but yeah,
Right.
so like their audio visuals are really good. The comedic cuts are really nice. The It's not quite it's not really near the level of something like, I would say, like Bochi the Rock, but they have cuts, like I said, where like there's like trying to sort of show the internal, I guess, feeling or monologue of a character. Like when Minato sees Saki, Uta's mom, crying over like the way Uta is treating her, essentially. Um, like, and that scene being like the hard, what would you call it? Was it white text? I don't remember if it was white text or not, but it's like this text, essentially the Japanese characters again for mom over a black background, and then behind that bleeds in like these warm watercolors of like reds and oranges. And then there's like a scene of Mikoto essentially snapping when they were younger at Minato, like I was saying earlier, and that's depicted as like Minato being this like crass white drawing on like a black background, and almost like the white line work is like almost looks like neon in a way, and him like turning into like scribbles and shit, like as he screams and carries on and like breaks things. And it's a very like
Right.
crass drawing. And then there are scenes of Hayato like reminiscing about their parents, and about like even like the fireworks show, where they just cut to um I mean, it's definitely not VHS, but like VHS quality shots of like Japanese town at like dusk, and a fireworks show, intercut with like fully animated like shots as well.
Oh, what? Okay.
Yeah, so it's like it cut, and it like cutting back and forth between him and that. And there's even a shot
That's like way better than I expected, actually. Though,
yeah,
although
there's
I actually
also a shot where Minato and Uta, I'll just say they overhear like a secret thing, like it's not like a fucking actual big revelation, but they overhear something that they weren't supposed to,
Mhm.
that like I'll just say like Gakuto is trying to keep a secret from Hayato, and like Gakuto and Waka were gonna keep a secret from him to not inconvenience him. And Minato and Uta, it shows them at one point like uh they were gonna walk into the room that they're in, and they overhear it. And they sprint out
Oh,
of
okay.
her house screaming. And as they're sprinting, one, it's a really good scene. Like pretty good cut, but while they're running, the background winds up like starting to blur, and then it just becomes a live action shot, with them superimposed on like
Oh, okay,
with them
okay,
like
okay, okay.
superimposed on a live action background,
Uh-huh.
as they're running to this other place. And so now I don't know if this was like really cutting corners or not for them. Either way, they did it in a way that looked really good, so I can't really
Uh-huh.
complain. and was really
That's a
interesting.
very interesting way to
I
do
think it
things.
was
Okay.
intentional though, because they had like them running in this real this like down this real street, and then like a rhinoceros beetle like flies between them and stuff. So
Right.
I think it was a very intentional shot, but it looked really nice. And there's a lot of like stuff like that, or not a lot, but it's used like decently sparingly. But when it is used, it's quite nice.
Hmm. Okay, pretty good.
And yeah,
Yeah.
definitely way better audio visuals than you would expect from like just a sort of slice of life slash like minor drama slash comedy series.
Yeah, I didn't
I don't know
expect
why the
this either. Although
demographic is
again,
listed as shoujo on Mall, by the way. Not really sure. Not really sure
because
why
it
that's
has the
there.
boys. Come on, man. Because of the
Yeah.
boys. But yeah, I think it's very interesting that I guess again, looking back on how Shuka did create, help produce Natsume Jincho as well as Durarara season 2. I'm not too surprised at the level of quality they managed to bring up. But again, as you said, I do think from the way you described it, it is definitely one of the more underrated shows of the season for sure. So.
Yeah, and shockingly too, a lot of the brothers are also much newer voice actors as well. Or
Mhm.
lesser used. Like I believe it looks like the longest the brother with the most roles is Hayato's voice actor, and that is Ryota Iwasaki, and it seems like he's only been
Mhm.
active since like 2016, right? And 2016
Oh,
was like bit roles. In 2017, his biggest role was Pingu, right?
okay.
So he's the new Pingu in 2016,
Mhm.
2017, 2018. Um, so he's gotten a lot of roles, but then you go to Mikoto, the more aloof one, and which also like good showing for this voice actor's range. This is
Mhm.
Kikunosuke Toya, who is the voice actor for Denji,
Yeah, I looked
and
at
so
that name. I was like, ah, he got
yeah,
in. He got in
he's
again.
very
Yeah,
much he's very much showing like obviously he's got range for fucking
the
days.
chops. Yeah.
Um, and again, all of these voice actors sound like and the youngest she does very very well.
Mhm.
Has a very cute voice. I guess her biggest role would right now. I can't see it. That's the other problem with Maul is that no game credentials. But she is a character in Blue Archive.
Blue Archive. Yeah.
Hanoka. I guess like the
Mhm.
forehead girl, so to speak. Let me see. I'll post a picture of her in the DM. But yeah, so she is
Yeah. I
from
just
Blue
saw it.
Archive. So I'm not really sure about her other roles if there are major roles. But she's killing
Mhm.
it as Gakuto. And that's her only other like anime role though. Is the Blue Archive ONA. So this is pretty much a first. May as well be like a first like major role for her for anime.
Yeah.
And then the oh my god, who is
Yeah.
this?
I think this
Waka,
is
yeah,
her
and
pretty
then
much her major
Waka, the
role.
other youngest. This is like Waka, the youngest from the other family. This voice actress has not like she's had other roles, but it's been very minors. She was a main in
Mhm.
Shoot Gold of the Future. But other than that, now this is another big role, or another role for her. So it seems like
Yeah,
these
this is one of
are
like the more like major roles. Yeah.
mainly, yeah, these are mainly, at least for like the kids, these are very much newer
Like newer blood. Yeah.
newer voice
Except
actors.
yeah, it's just pretty much Iwasaki Ryota I mean, even Kikunosuke Toya is a little bit on the new. Yeah, he is.
Yeah, I mean,
He is
he's
on the newer
newer.
side.
His first
Okay,
role was
period. Yeah,
Denji. Like,
it's just that it's like his meteoric his rise.
yeah,
It just
yeah.
makes
Like
me.
his
It's
first
almost like
role was insane. Like,
yeah, like the only comparable I think is like of recent note. I don't think even has been male voice actors. It's like Uesaka Sumire and like Fairu's Eye are like the only comparable ones in terms of like achievements currently, right? It's like um
yeah,
as well as obviously, veteran and Mao. But other than those three, a lot of these people are kind of like
yeah.
newer
And
people or
actually,
people kind of waiting for the
now
breakout
now that
roles.
I'm looking at it, I don't know if it's literally if it was intentional, but quite
Mhm.
literally, all of the younger cast like characters do not have that many roles.
Yeah,
Again,
they're
the
the newer ones
even
usually.
Uta, the tomboy, her longest, her like furthest back role was she started with Azoken as Tsubame, which is 2020. So
Mhm.
like she's also fairly newer. The what do you call it? One of the best friend, like the sort of best friend character. This is also only her fifth role since 2022. She had like a bit part in Chainsaw Man as a side character. And this is her, I guess, biggest role now in
Mhm.
2023. So like, and then you get to Saki, the mom, and the grandfather. Um, and then like obviously, the grandfather went over his work, and then Saki is
Mao.
Ichimichi Mao.
Yes.
So
So
like I
there's
don't know if that was
there's
literally
there's some good
planned.
names hidden there somewhere. Yeah.
That I don't know if like I don't know if like that was kind of like planned that like the grandfather and like the mom were going to be the sort of the literally the voice actors with the most work under their belt, or like the longest
Yeah.
running, or like
Yeah.
the longest careers, and then like literally all of the younger characters have all of the sort of youngest careers at this point.
Yeah.
But it's worked out that way, and that's pretty
Yeah.
interesting.
I mean, the voice typings work out pretty well.
Yeah, and I guess like the main thing to say about that is you wouldn't expect that from any of these characters. From like hearing any
Yeah.
of these characters, like these all sound like seasoned vets. I would say
Mhm.
especially for like Gakuto and Waka, uh definitely sounded like way more seasoned. And I would say
That's good to hear.
Uta's tomboyish voice is quite nice. Because the voice actress Misato Matsuoka is not doing like a she's not doing like she it doesn't sound like she's really doing much to, I guess, what would you call it, like falsetto her voice at all. Like Uta's voice is much deeper than you would expect.
Mhm.
um so yeah, it's been very distinct and very nice to hear a lot of these casts. I guess it is technically like Uta's voice is supposed to contrast with Waka, who is very, very, very timid, a very timid voice.
Yeah.
But still, like the voice cast is killing it. And to see this many like generally new faces, if not
Newer. Yeah.
completely new faces, like that, I think is really, really cool for this series.
Yeah. And to see them performing well at it as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Pretty
yeah.
good.
I
I
went on
guess
long with
any
that
last
one, but
words?
yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
Not really. No, I would say definitely check this out.
Mhm.
I can't really not recommend this to anyone. You know what I mean? Like I don't really know. Like I guess like the only way I wouldn't recommend this to you is if you're like, yeah, I like only watch fucking One Piece or something. Or like
Yeah.
I'm only
I
out here.
will. o-
I'm
I
watching
am
every
holding out
shonen.
for.
What?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
watching every
Exactly.
power
I'm
battle
holding
fucking
out
shonen
for
under the
the One
sun.
Punch Man. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Exactly.
unless like that's you, like if you watch anything varied at all, you may as well give this a shot because it's very, very good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
All right.
OPED. The OP and EDs are very cute, but nothing really to write home about. I say the OP is
Mhm.
just fun because it's cute. It's a lot of like the brothers in like different outfits and stuff, and different like
Oh, okay.
sort of like scenarios and things like that. Sort of being like, one might be like a period piece picture of them, things like that.
Hmm.
Now the real
So it's very
question
cute.
is, how many women are in this series?
Is it
I mean, if you're not counting like super side characters,
Is
you have
there
Uta and you have Saki.
is there is there a family of 4 girls that
No.
somehow they meet yet? Not yet?
No, I mean
Mm,
they're not. Like the other family of 4, like I said, is the Kirishimas. It's the grandfather, the like newly divorced
I don't know,
daughter,
man.
her daughter, and her son.
It kind of feels like there should be like a Brady Bunch situation here that would make the series better.
Also, the art is very cute. I would say is
Yeah.
I guess my final thing. Like, I'll link it in the DMs, but like Waka's art is very cute. Like he's always drawn like that.
Are you sure that's not from what's that one series with the boys and the eating?
You talking about the rice
What?
one?
Uh,
Is that what you mean? The
it's
one
not
where like
Dead
the
Man
rice
Wonderland.
boys?
It's is it
Talking
Dead
about the
Man Wonderland?
rice
No, it's not Dead
boys?
Man Wonderland.
What do you
The
mean
one
by
where the
eating?
dudes isn't that the series where there's little boys and they're being eaten?
What the fuck
Oh,
are you
that
talking
was like
about?
orphans.
Fuck?
You're talking about the one. It's just orphans being eaten.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
Which one
forget
is
what that
that?
series was. It was the one that had the really shitty season 2. What was
Promise
that called
Neverland.
again?
Thank you.
Promise
Oh,
Neverland. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, okay, okay.
Oh, you think you
I
saw
was
spiky
about to go.
orange hair and you're like, damn, that's
I was
Promise
like, wait a
Neverland
minute.
right there.
Yeah, and those
Fuck.
shorts. Yeah.
by the
Okay.
way,
You know what?
I looked
Fair.
it up, and the reason this is labeled shoujo is because Mal is lazy, and the manga is published in a shoujo magazine. So
Sick.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Uh,
Very good. Very cool. But
anyways,
yeah, like I said, I would recommend this. My mall score would be probably be 9 out of 10, right?
wow.
Just because like
Okay.
I wouldn't give it 10 out of 10 just because like I feel like again, as I've said in the past, like for me a 10 out of 10 is something like this is or I mean, I guess even this might be like a 9.5. You know what I mean? For
Yeah.
like a slice of life series. I mean, in my heart it's a 10 out of 10 because it's like, if I'm giving it a thumbs up or a thumbs down, I'm giving it a thumbs up. So,
Hmm.
but there's like nothing wrong with this series. And it does a lot, and
Hmm.
visuals are great, and it does more stylistically with the visuals than it needs to at times. So, and the directing and the pacing's really good. So, like, overall, like, you know, I don't know if giving it a 10 is like super appropriate because, something like Bochi the Rock did like went even crazier than it needed to. Um,
Hmm.
So like that's where I'm like, there's like a 9.5 or something like that. Like it could do, there is room for more. Um,
Hmm.
but like the mall score being a 7.6 is like actually fucking like criminal, like disgusting, to be honest with you.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's
I guess like this mall score is
you know how
a
Maul
7.6
reacts to
because
this. Yeah.
like its OP is like kind of not good. like visually, like it's nothing to write home about. Like it's not doing
I
anything
mean,
special.
unless you're like in the top 5 rankings, in terms of like viewer count for a season on Mall, your series probably isn't breaching an 8.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
actually quite true.
That's just how the
100%.
median works, right? Because
Yeah.
the way Mall scores are rated, stuff.
Yeah.
You like legitimately need
Like
to carpet
unless
bomb
you
like a
yeah, unless
series
you
with
like
tens.
literally have an army of people giving it 10 out of 10, your series
Yeah.
probably is not breaching 8. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But yeah, it's
Anyways,
like I said, very good. Check it out.
right. Well, again, thank you very much, Dark, for helping to cover Yuzuki-san no Yonkyoudai, or the Yuzuki family's 4 sons, done by done by Shuka, who you might know as the animation studio behind Natsume-san Yujincho, as well as Jurarara Season 2. Obviously, again, if you enjoy just a little bit more organic, slice of life stuff with good organic character development, please do check this out. And next, I'll be going over one of the more anticipated, I guess, series of the season. One of the bigger, yeah, I would say this is one of the more hyped series of the season, right? I'll be fair in saying that. It is called 16-Bit Sensation Another Layer. So this is originally manga. It was actually a doujinshi, sort of independently produced manga, individually / independently made manga, um, created, or it actually debuted in Comic Kid, if I remember correctly. So this is a manga original, originally a doujinshi original, produced by um, Tamiki Wakaki, who you might know as the artist behind The World God Only Knows, Misato Mitsumi, and Amazuyu. And these three, what they had in common is they all actually worked in Aqua Plus. And Aqua Plus is one of the famous, uh, probably one of the most famous visual studio slash Bishoujo game slash eroge studios of all time, right?
Yeah.
They've made Tears to Tiara, they've made To Heart 2, which literally like influences otaku culture to this very day. And what I mean influence, like it is referenced, not only referenced, but like so many things are just inspired by it, right? Utawara Rumono, stuff like that. And actually all of these three, I believe, worked together in Aqua Plus with making To Heart 2, Tears to Tiara, and Utawara Rumono.
Yeah.
And I believe they also worked a little bit when over at Manglobe Studios when they were animating before, obviously Manglobe went bankrupt. So they have had a long sort of association together, and this is they made a manga sort of not depicting, but it's like inspired by their times working in the animation industry and making, or not in the animation industry, but in making these sorts of bishoujo games. So uh, there's a little bit of difference in the series before I go on. So the original uh, manga was depicted pretty much directly in like the 1990s when again they were kind of working out, the start of the Bishoujo game kind of boom in a sense, and doing this. There's a slight variation in the anime where the protagonist is from 2023, but then they times travel and send her back to 1990s. So it's kind of like their sneaky way, I guess, of doing this like modern remake, not reboot, quote unquote, in a sense, but it's like kind of whatever. It's pretty much the same idea. Um, so going over sort of the staff here, it's done by Silver Studios. It's a very small, lesser known studio. They did a lot of random OVAs and a lot of like key animation help. They are backed by a shit ton of subcontractors, like 15 different subcontractors. So they have a decent amount of money to run this. And a lot of so the general directorial and animation staff is a mix of a decent amount of people who are relatively new to the scene, like they have some like works under their belt, but they're not like super veterans or anything like that. Combined with a decent number of like actual just like longtime veterans. So the director Sakuma Takashi is a relatively new director. Again, this is his like second role after he was the chief director for Roommates. Roommates being the sort of the male version of that like one room or whatever. But other than that, he mainly did storyboard stuff centered around works kind of based in the last, I want to say, 4 or 5 years or so. Um, Similar experience with again the music, Yasukian, as well as the I want to say art director who did Arimoto Hisai, who's done like a lot of background art, but he hasn't done like a lot of like directorial roles. And they are again uh, cited. They are supported by veterans and such as uh, Sasaki Masakatsu, who's doing the character design, as well as veteran Motoyama Satoshi, who's the sound director. So a good mixture of veterans and newcomers, I think it's a little bit interesting that a lot of the important roles are done by quite new people on this sort of I want to say more bigger project, but these things do happen, and it's important to give newer people these bigger projects as well. But yeah, the voice acting cast pretty um decent, solid lineup. Not like super like all-star studded, but there are a lot of solid seiyuu in here. Plenty of A-listers. Atsushi, Koga Aoi, Kawasumi Ayako. If you don't know who Kawasumi Ayako is, she is the voice behind Saber. Hori Yui, what is it? Yamane Aya, stuff like that. Fukushima Jun, Ito Kentaro, stuff like that. So a lot of A-listers here, alongside some lesser known voice actresses. And especially, I want to give a shout out to Kasumi Ayako because she does she does a sort of more supporting role in this series, but like her voice stands out in the cast, and it's like very noticeable. Um, it's not that she's like trying to voice act and almost be like a diva, but it's very hard to like not notice her acting and voice. So it's just a shout out to her in this role and capacity. So that's that. Quick talk about the opening theme or opening ending. Both are kind of just like, standard anime song J-pop opening ending kind of stuff. Neither was very impressive, but especially I was kind of disappointed by this opening called Rokko Rokko Go Sango by Shoko Nakagawa. Nakagawa Shoko, obviously the singer behind Sorairo Days, the opening for Gurren Lagann, very famous. Um, but I wasn't sure whether this sort of soft J-pop was the best fit for Nakagawa, or even sort of the best use for her talents, because again, like something like Sorry Days, I think she's best suited to something where you can just belt out, right? Belt out, and have her voice just like be out there. And I feel like that would have been a little bit better than this sort of more like demure, this milder opening. But it is what it is. I wasn't very impressed by either opening or ending, but it's there. Uh, the visuals were pretty innocuous, uh, but I mean, it had Uh, I mean, this had a decent amount of money, and I also think there's not like a lot of frames to this in general because most of it is just like talking, right? And there's not like a lot of animation. There are people like falling over or people kind of like leaning back in chairs or walking around a little bit. But other than that, there are very few like actual animation frames. And even when things are being animated or drawn, right? It's like all stills, right? It's like static pictures of the visual novel eroge or bishojo game character that they're creating inside the anime. So um it's like I don't know. The visuals are innocuous but and clean, but it's not like impressive in any manner. And so, it is what it is. Um so yeah, that's the quick coverage of the audio visuals. And I guess I'll just go over the summary real quick. So if I were to read off the Mal site, Konoha is a female illustrator who loves beautiful girls and Bishojo games. She works at a video game studio and or who that's making like visual novels and stuff like that, and aspires to become a super famous illustrator. However, reality did not work out as well as she has hoped. In the present, where mobile games are all the rage, Konoha spends her days as a sub illustrator, just coloring the back of background characters. And she's kind of working on this like really uh like Yukige crappy like cheap level game that can sell. I think it was like MILF Hypnosis Salon or something like that. I think that was the game's title. So it's like instead of making like a full like the classic like visual novel games that we know and love, she's just like, out there just trying to you know contribute to some shitty Yukige. And then after some happenings, she uh gets to like this like she kind of stumbles upon the secondhand like game store where everything is like super cheap, and it's like all of these masterpiece games are being sold for cheap, like Kanon, the original like Kanon version, like Rans, stuff like that is all being sold for like $1 each. And she's like, "What the fuck?" She buys everything. She buys Dokusei, she buys Kanon, she buys Rans, she buys all of like the classics, right, to heart. Um, she takes them back home and she opens one of them, and she's suddenly enveloped by dazzling light and she gets transported to the past. However, this past is in 1992. So this is the start of the creation, sort of the boom of Bishoujo games. Games made on, these older computers and, these like, click text, adventure, not adventure, but it's like, these like uh dating sim-ish kind of like visual novels, the prototypes of what we know today, right? And she joins this indie company called Alcohol Soft, and in order to help them make these like visual novels because and Bishoujo games because she's very into, she this is her passion. She wants to draw and make these Bishoujo games because she really, really, really loves Bishoujo games. So that's sort of the story, and the flow is the general flow, without spoiling too much, is that she helps out this indie game studio create this game. Uh, there there's like a decent amount of like trivia here and there in the process of creating the shoujo game, right? And in between these sorts of like trivia bits, um, where the trivia is both representative, both the trivia is about both, like the drawing and like programming and like little bits of stuff like that were like related to the actual specifics of making the visual novel, but it's like there are also like trivia about general kind of cultural phenomena and like flow because again you have to remember the original creators, Wakaki and the others, the Aqua Plus people had literally been through all of this. They're like literally spilling trivia, like cultural trivia and like how people felt and like what was going on through these times, like a history book, but represented in this sort of anime trivia. So that's sort of the nature of that, what they're doing. Um, so it's a little bit it's that mixed with sort of a little bit of the time travel thing, like going back and forth and kind of how the main hero resolves all of this like time travel nonsense and a little bit of some drama mixed in, stuff like that. So um every time she managed to leap back and forth in time between the past, like where the alcohol soft is working, and the present. And every time she goes back to the past, she arrives at a different, slightly like more recent like point in time. Like she'll arrive in 92, then she'll arrive in 96, and then she'll arrive in 98 or 99, stuff like that. So then that sort of like so the time travel is used to show like different evolutions in the timeline of Alcohol Soft, the visual game developer, which is also which also helps show like the trivia about how the time like flowed, right? Like the beginning of again the Bishoujo game creation on these like old like PC 98 like devices, all the way up to the inclusion of Windows, right? And how people adapted to that, and how Bishoujo games kind of boomed and evolved like during that time. So if you guys, I guess this is a little bit more like an American kind of thing. But if you guys have played like Amazon Trail or something like that, where it's like the way the game was set up was like you would travel down the river, and the more you travel down the river, the more like you go through like these different moments in history. Like you every time like you landed at some place and you saw a historical event, it was like a different point in time. So it's kind of like the anime is kind of made like that, where it's like every time the hero goes back, it's like a different point in time of how Bishoujo games and that culture evolved in Japan. And it's a very interesting way to do things. And so
So I
I
have
guess
a
I
few
should just
questions.
yeah, yeah. Go on.
So she works for Alcohol Soft?
Um,
How would she say she's
yes.
like
So
so how? And how do they not know
so
she's a
she
time
when she
traveler?
because their setting is that they just don't believe her. Like she's just like, oh, I traveled from
Wait,
time.
so she
I'm from the
works there,
future,
but she
and
just
they're
disappears for 2 years to them?
so it's like so what happens is like she comes in and like works and helps make them make like the game. Like in 1992, they're making a game and they're at like they're developing it and they're kind of smoothing it up and they're working on it, right? So she helps them for that period of time, like up to when they finish making the game, right? And then after she finished making the game, she like accidentally opens up, her bag or whatever, and she gets warped back to the present. And then when she's like, "What the fuck? Like, why am I in the present again?" And she like wanders around or does works at her present company and does whatever other shit. And later on, she gets time leaped by opening up another game. And so then she goes back to the past, but it's like not 92, it's 96. It's a few years after. So then you see the evolution of Alcohol Soft. So it's like all of these other people that she met at Alcohol Soft that were making, their game in like a small house, but now they're at like a slightly bigger like office or whatever, right? So it's like she goes back and then now she's in 96. She's met all of her friends who have become 4 years older and they're still making another game now. So she helps them in that game, and then they all make the game and struggle and celebrate and blah blah. And then she ends up disappearing again, and then this kind of repeats back and forth for a couple of times. Um, so
I had another question,
uh, yeah,
and and now I don't remember it. It has something to do with the time,
yeah,
with the time travel again, though.
yeah, yeah.
There was like,
I'll get into a little bit. Yeah,
no, yeah, I'll have to let it come to me again.
yeah. I'll get into more of my thoughts in the time travel in a bit, but starting sort of a little bit from the top, I want to kind of talk about the references and like trivia a little bit more. Um, I do really, really, really like the trivia part, and it's like they have a lot of it. Obviously, they just like out the wazoo. It almost rivals, I want to say, like Nyaruko-san in terms of like references, where it's like,
Okay, I
or like
mean,
the world God only
I don't
knows.
believe you.
Um, yeah. Where it's like they talk about, for instance, like even at the very beginning, right? At the present, like modern day company that she works in, I mean, obviously, Alcohol Soft itself is riff on like Aqua Plus, right? But it's like,
Yeah.
Oh,
um,
now I remember my question. When she's working for
yeah,
Alcohol Soft, does she just like make no money because of
yeah,
inflation?
she's supposed to be unpaid. She's supposed to be unpaid. But then she gets food and like from like the food that they make at the office or whatever.
Damn.
It's like or she
That's
uses a sleeping bag.
illegal.
Not
Yeah.
in the
But yeah,
90s,
it's
baby.
a lot of that, a lot of like how she's paid, how she survived, like back when she gets time leaped and stuff like that is very handy. Um,
Okay.
and that part is like not seen as very important in the continuation of the story. And again, I'll get to that in a bit and how I feel about it. But so the trivia itself, for instance, like at the very beginning when she's like working at that company and she's just like a sub illustrator and she's just all she's doing is drawing background art. The setting, the initial setting, and the president of the office coming in or the manager coming in and talking to them is like they're like, oh, we're no longer doing full price games because it's like too expensive and like nobody will buy it, and we're instead going to do discount games. We're going to sell this 4,500 yen um Nukige, the MILF hypnosis salon or whatever it's called, right? Because it's cheaper and it'll sell. And
I like
that
how
like
for
the
Nukigaze, like
moment,
the cheap game is still like 45 fucking dollars, by the way.
yeah, 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 exactly. Um, and that really just like hit so hard, like for me, because we've especially like obviously everybody here by now knows this, but especially for me, like I've seen this as well, right? Like, like we've seen all these like big games, like like Kohime Muso or Kanon or whatever being made, and now what are we seeing? We're seeing but we're seeing all these Nuka games being made because they're cheaper. We're seeing, instead of full games, we're seeing essentially fan disc versions, right? Like small, like one route versions of the previously full size games being made over and over again because they're like the cheaper versions, and that's like all the studios want to run with, um, keep afloat. And even in localization, right? Like from years ago, and manga gamers was especially infamous for just announcing this, right? They were just like, no, we don't want to translate something like Koime Muso because it takes too long and we don't make as much money from it. So we're just gonna translate Nukige because all we have to do is we have to translate, all these moans, and we're just gonna make money for all profit from it because it doesn't take nearly as much effort compared to how fast we can just shit it out, right? Uh, like stuff like that. The references to like all the visual novels again, it has like references to like Palette, with the Mashiro Yori Symphony stuff. It has references to Basason, all the Ubisoft like series, Kanon, Rans, Dokuse, like all the stuff. Um, the painting techniques from, they mention like literally all like the development, like how people painted on mouse like before then, and like how people did like the copying of the line art and stuff like that, the evolution to Windows, away from PC 98, and um as well as sort of how people got used to pen tablets and Photoshop for the first time, and then adding on more layers and expanding the stuff, and doing console stuff, and the contact with America and like international like corporations, stuff like that. Like they explain this story just the way and like it shows it. It's almost like it kind of gave me shivers because it has like this almost historical documentary vibes that could literally only be told at this level of detail and this sort of convincingly by the people who are there because the original creators were there, right? So I think that trivia part was so cool, and it was just so, again, it was so convincing. And I think that sort of trivia, um and the way it was told, and the way, not it wasn't just like, again, it wasn't just otaku trivia, right? Like, oh, you back in my day you had to draw line art like this exactly, or whatever it is, right? It wasn't just that. It was like the trivia about the cultural mood, right, at different timelines, when back when Bishojo games were just like quirky weird stuff, all the way up to when Bishojo games were becoming much more and more and more of a craze, and studios were becoming bigger and creating these big Bishojo games, right? Alongside, scaling technology. Like that sort of cultural mood is being described in this trivia. And I think I think the way that sort of trivia is being described in the series is almost unparalleled, compared to any other previous series. Um, whether it's Shirobako, or whether it's New Game, whether it's any other, something like, even just something like nerdly nerd like Upote, or like anything that's like specifically like uh trivia related. I think this does a very good job of going toe to toe with them or just blowing them out of the water. It is very good, and obviously you can tell the experience, the stories that Tanaka Akaki and the other two Aqua Plus people wanted to tell through this um, through this series. So that's like the trivia part is like unparalleled. I'm not gonna hold anything against it. And again, it almost reminds me again of Amazon Trail, of all one of those like older 1990s 2000s games, but in anime form, where it's like they show the different parts of the history. It's almost like a museum, but it like in anime. So the changes were told very straight, and that was pretty great. So that was the good part of it. The parts that are not the trivia. So it's like the character interactions, the time travel bits, the sort of overarching like thematics of the story. Like, oh, we just we're creating these games to further the imaginations of people. we just do this because for the love of the game, stuff like that. Uh, that stuff is extremely minimal, and quite disappointing. And the issue is, it's one thing to have it kind of just be like, have those character interactions, stuff like that, be pretty vanilla in order to help the trivia flow along. Oh, again, something like Upote, right? Or any other like girls in the club kind of series. Although, a lot of the girls in the club kind of series do have their decent character development as well. But the character development and like the the way that the time travel concept is handled, outside of it being like a blatant billboard, like, oh, by the way, guys, we're just using time travel to just show you guys how Bishoujo game development history was made. Like, other than like whacking the viewer over the head with that sort of message, I think the character development and time travel was done very minimally. And because you can see how minimal that is, there's too much contrast with the actual like quality trivia parts of the story. And once there's too much contrast, and I think I mentioned this in for one or two other series, once there's that sort of contrast, that sort of glue falls apart. So it's like this sort of character development, the cast, the time travel is supposed to be the glue that holds together the trivia of the story to make it not seem like a pure documentary, right? But the moment that the character development becomes that sort of ragtag, that sort of like just like bare bones, it just kind of feels like, oh, okay, like why did you even just make this story? You might as well just have made like a general sort of uh mockumentary, right? Like a dramatized kind of like dramatization of a documentary almost. Like, I don't know why you had to make this like anime girl if you're not gonna do anything really with this anime girl. And like, there's a small part of it later on in the series where it's like there's a drama buildup, um, and there's this sort of like managerial cultural conflict that goes on with like the shifting that deals with like the transition of time and how developing studios kind of grew up with the advent of technology and how people kind of accept different like Bishoujo games and stuff like that. And the drama in that sort of mini arc ish is okay, but it's the exception to the rule that it's the exception that proves the rule, because everything else is pretty much just like very bunk. The way that the characters treat the time travel, the way that the characters treat each other outside of, again, the drama with like the manager and the management and like the culture, stuff like that. Um, some of the other future like time travel stuff, and like there's like an alternate timeline stuff that goes on later on. All of that stuff, the thematics that surround it, like you just gotta humans just gotta rely on boosting their imagination or whatever, shit like that. All of that is just not good. It's just not done well. And not only is it not done well, it's just done very minimally. And it's just very disappointing because I kind of felt like this is sort of how it ended up with The World God Only Knows at the very end, too, where it's like at the beginning it had a good idea, but then later on, when The World God Only Knows went into this goddesses arc, and then it kind of got involved with like world changing powers almost, and like all these like supernatural things were coming in one by one. I felt like all these like supernatural battles and stuff like that were coming in one by one. I felt like the end of The World God Only Knows was just very, very like haphazard, and just like the Tamaki just had no idea what to do with like the characters and stuff like that, and it was just not um coherent. And I don't think the creators really learned that much, um judging by the story of 16-bit sensation, and that's a little bit disappointing to me. I don't expect to have the best, most creative characters while you're also telling like a dramatized kind of like documentary style anime on the evolution of the Bishojo game development throughout history. But it's like I expect there to be some sort of foundation. I don't expect the girl to just be like, oh, I got thrown into another town. Oh, let's make game, and then just like spill some trivia, and then oh fuck, I gotta go back to the present. Like, just add something to the character, right? It's just like it was very disappointing to see the protagonist be very, 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 very like not even one dimensional, but like half dimensional. It was so like she is so vanilla and nondescript that it's just like very hard to like s- get any value out of like the character developments in this story. It was very disappointing. Um, and I feel like if I don't know, like what the author should have done, cause it's like if they want to make an anime like this, I feel like they had to go two ways. They had to make again something that was a lot more like a general like documentary, dramatized documentary kind of thing with more realistic kind of like setups, or just like even just something like literally just straight based off their work at Aquaplus, but just like riffing off of it. Or I think they should have maybe they should have done a little bit more like focus on the main character, but then kind of treat it like a variant of like the main character goes on a journey kind of thing. But instead of going on a journey to like her walking around and seeing like different things, the journey kind of just becomes, every time she does a time leap, she kind of focuses on again the cultural mood of the time. And I think that's like going into that, leaning on that trivia, leaning on that sort of like cultural depiction. I think that would have been a lot more valuable than the kind of feeble attempts at character development that happened on in this series. But it is a little bit unfortunate that this happened. Um, Yeah, it had really good trivia. It just had superb trivia, but it was just dragged down so much by the um, very mediocre character development and development of the story outside of the trivia bits. So very unfortunate, I would say. Uh, Dark, did you remember your question about the time skip
No,
thing?
yeah, it was literally about like if she's working for this company and getting paid, like wouldn't like
Yeah, yeah,
wouldn't
yeah. It
inflation
was
make
just
that
about the
useless?
realism. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It was just like again, like the realism part. Like
Hey man,
that's
when you
part of
introduce
this
time
thing too, where it's
travel,
just
I
like
want to
yeah,
know if you've got all
yeah,
your fucking eggs counted or whatever.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. It's just like that part is hand waved, and it's part of this again general attitude. Again, as I mentioned about the author just being like, yeah, the girl time travels and she gets to see the shows of games being made. But again, the problem is too much of it's being handled. Like even the characters' personalities are being hand waved, and it's just you can't do that. You have to have a minimum foundation of the original story, and then on top of that, you can stack as much trivia as you want. Go fucking Herman Melville on this thing. Go, Alexander Dumas. Tell the entire fucking French history, like economic history. Who cares? Like, but but you have to have characters on the bottom of it, right? Like those guys, or you um, uh, like just I don't know, man. It was like when
So what you're
like
saying is
Herman
this
Melville
series
or
should have
like
been more like what was it? That Beatles movie where that guy stole all the Beatles songs because he went to a world without the
yeah,
Beatles. And she should have just remade
yeah,
all those games
yeah.
and
It's like
faster.
at least with uh I guess this is like an unfair comparison of sorts. But when authors, literary greats such as like Herman Melville or Victor Hugo or whoever made like Moby Dick or like Me or whatever, and they included that like entire part in the front where it's like huge like swaths of text about like whale hunting or like economic conditions or whatever, right? at least afterwards, the original story still had characters that were like engaging. Like you can't leave people out to dry on the original story like that. So again, very unfortunate. That was sort of all I really had to say about the story. There's not much to it. I think again, the trivia uh, unparalleled almost, but it was dragged down too much. It was dragged down too much by the original story. Overall, I will give this a. I just keep wanting to give this series a higher score because I'm so like I love the references inside it so much, and I love this series, this sort of theme so much, and it's a rare occasion that we can have such experienced people talk about this sort of industry and this sort of cultural history and stuff like that. But I think I would have to give it a. I would have to give it a 6.5. I think the audio visuals. I think the visuals are okay. The audio is the OST and the OPD is kind of whatever, and the trivia really carried to the top of the mountain. But it's just I can't give it more than like 6.5 or even 7 point. I think even giving it 7 points is too much. Probably 6 or 6.5 points because it's I can't justify having the original story being that like ragged and bare bones. I just can't. So yeah. But if you do want to kind of check out again Tankiwaki and all the other former Aquaplus staff members, kind of thoughts and how they kind of visualize the history of like Bishojo games evolving. Um, and again, they were some of the main actors in that movement. They were part of the Aquaplus during their Chohar days, the Tears to Tiara days, the Utawara Mono days. They were some of the big hitters. So if you want to get a taste of what they felt during those sorts of cultural moments, I guess please do check this out. So that was my review on 16-Bit Sensation, Another Layer. Again, this is by Silver Studios. The original being a manga. I believe it got multiple volumes, but the original was a doujinshi that was sold at Comcast. So you guys can maybe try checking that out as well. It's probably available like on Melon Books or something like that. So you can probably check it out there. But yeah, that was my review. And last but not least, Nier, you potentially have one of the biggest series of the season, if not the biggest.
I think it's easily the biggest non-sequel series.
Yeah,
this
yeah,
season.
yeah, yeah. Not a sequel.
Yep. I watched Sousou no Frieren, also known as
Yes.
Frieren Beyond Journey's End. This is
Yes.
a
Yes.
fantasy journey series, headed by Madhouse.
Yes.
Just a pretty
Yeah,
storied
what have they done before?
and
Yeah.
nothing
Just
much.
like some shit. Yeah.
Yeah, just some
Some
fucking
shit.
garbage.
Yeah.
I mean, recently, obviously they've been doing the Overlord series with its many seasons. They did Place in a Pod, which I covered. They did Tactopus, which I covered. They did Sunny Boy,
Alright, they did
which,
Sunny Boy. Yes.
if I remember correctly, got my Anime of the Year. The
Yes.
year it
Yes,
came
I
out.
believe it did. Yeah.
Before that, GI Fury 3, Aka 13. They did the Boogie Pop reboot, which wasn't very good, but they've done a lot. They've been
A
around
Place
for
Further Than the Universe was also quite good. Yeah.
they've been around for a very long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I'll go over the synopsis real quick. It's pretty simple. The story starts off at the end of the sort of hero's journey to defeat the Demon King. The heroes are successful and they're sort of coming back from their adventure. And our main character, Frieren, is or was the mage of the party. And it's a pretty typical, sort of stereotypical D&D party of 4 members. There's the hero, there's the mage, there's the priest, and there's the warrior. and they're a bit of a ragtag group. They've all got their own quirks and charms. But at the end of their journey, they sort of look back, and pretty much all the parties except for Frieren go, you know, like that was life changing, right? Like that was a life defining
yeah.
sort of adventure. But Frieren, being an elf, sort of kind of just sees it as a blip on the radar because
Mm-hmm.
elves in this series live for many thousands of years. So a journey such as this, which was only 10 years to her, is like, it's almost nothing, right?
You're right.
And as they're sort of, having a party and, celebrating their victory, they observe a meteor shower that happens once every 50 years. And Frieren sort of makes an offhanded promise to sort of watch the next one with her friends, right? And she sort of doesn't realize that 50 years is a kind of a long time for a human being. And then the series sort of just kind of skips over the next 50 years, right? And then she returns to the city um, to, fulfill her promise. And then, pretty much all her friends are old now, right? They're old. Um, they've lived long lives. And after the meteor shower, the hero of the party, he passes away, right? Um, and this really impacts Frieren a lot more than she thought. And then she sort of, I guess, decides to change the sort of direction of her sort of journey and sort of retread the steps of her adventure with her friends and sort of make sure that um, her memory of that sort of lives on with her, right? And
Right. So
the
she's
series
not just
kind
like
of
casually sweeping over her memory or
yeah,
sweeping over the journey and being like, oh, it was nothing.
yeah, and the series sort of becomes a somewhat episodic journey series, sort of like a
Right.
Kino's Journey or
Right.
a Majo no Tabi Tabi. But it sort of
Thematically, it's different.
yeah,
Thematically,
it's a much more, I feel, somber series, right? It
I
has
love it because it's like I feel like this has. Have you ever felt like I mean, like we all, I like almost. I think all of us, except for maybe Toast, like I think we all love these sorts of like journey series, like as a basis, right? Like
yeah,
these are usually pretty good, right? Kin Hobby, Nasumi Chicho, whatever, like Mushishi, like usually all of these like are pretty good, but it's like a lot of them also kind of um the one flaw, especially in recent times, right, that these sorts of series have faced is that thematically, what have they centered? They've centered around this sort of like kind of gray morality variant where it's just like a lot of it's like, are humans good or are they bad? Or like, do they suck? Like, you know what I mean? It's like
yeah.
it's
I
kind
feel
of been
like
like
I feel like
that.
Kino's Journey really kind of set that precedent where because
Yeah,
Kino's Journey is
Kino
very
was
much
acceptable because like it was the first of its kind
yeah,
ish.
right. But
Yeah,
Kino's Journey is very much sort of it's just Kino sort of going from town to town
yeah,
in this
yeah.
sort of very um, melancholic
Yes.
world, and she's kind of just an observer, right? Like she kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
just
yeah,
goes from town to town, sees, you know, events transpire in these towns, and she doesn't really get involved, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
it was very
Exactly.
effective.
Yeah,
And I feel like a lot of Journeys series kind of like tried to emulate that. I mean,
yeah.
Mushishi's
But
sure as shit did, right?
yeah,
Um, but a lot of them aren't quite as effective, right?
yeah, because it's
Um,
like I think it retreads too much over the it's like humans can be kind, or it's like humans can no the order is like humans can be cruel and
yeah,
merciless, but there are humans that can be kind too, and it's just like that sort of like over and over and over again. That was just like okay, but like I also kind of saw this in the other journeys, right? Which
yeah,
was a little bit unfortunate, but this is like oblique, and it's like it's not focusing on like the can humans be good or do they suck? It's like it's just talking about like the passage of time, right?
Yeah,
It's like
it is very much focused on the passage of time and how sort of how humans react to that, how they
Mhm.
change over time, how
Right,
not
right.
only has does like the human um like the personal experience of like growing old and sort of you
And
know
how they weigh their experiences
facing
and like
yeah you sort of
memories too.
face
Yeah.
your mortality head on
Hmm.
and look back on your life, but it also looks on collect like the human collective, right? And sort of
Right,
how
right.
even great events can be forgotten to the passage of time, right?
Hmm.
And the idea of people, like real people that really lived and had genuine experiences and stuff, sort of get like their stories sort of get warped
Yeah,
into
yeah.
something that like they never really lived um,
Hmm.
through the passage of time, and it becomes sort of it becomes a fairy tale more than it does an actual chronicling of like a human life, right?
Hmm.
um and it does these themes really, really well, right?
Yes.
Again, it's a fairly somber series, but obviously it's certainly not lacking in comedy or action and stuff like that.
And on top of that, I think obviously the author does a amazing job of telling the story. Like I'm not like taking it away from like
Yeah,
anything, but it's also like the author has done a good job of breaking newer ground, right? It's like instead of again, it's like this is sort of the magic bullet or one of the magic potential bullets that the journey kind of this sort of genre needed. In my
yeah. And I think it really helps that uh the journey that they're on isn't
Mhm.
like it isn't aimless, right?
Mhm.
And not only is it not aimless, but it is familiar like territory to Frieren, right? Like it is
Right.
personally like this route that she's taking on her journey is this effectively the same or similar route to
Mhm.
her journey to defeat the Demon King, right?
Right.
But it's 80 years later, and
Mhm.
human beings being the creature that they are, 80
Mhm.
years is a long time for people, right?
Right.
And so a lot of things have changed. So it's familiar to her, but it's also different, right? So it's capable of you know sort of treating this journey as a sort of nostalgic reminiscing event where it can, do a lot of flashback scenes that help to further develop Frieren as a character.
Mhm.
But it also sort of it can treat this like the original party almost as like a secondary cast that like isn't
Mhm.
really there anymore, but can still be
Mhm.
developed, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
Um,
exactly, exactly.
it,
Because
it
they had backgrounds. It's just
yeah,
not revealed to the viewer yet. Yeah.
yeah. I think it's really, really smart. And
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah.
the fact that um, the old party and the new party are sort of interlinked in a way due to, whether they're familial connections or, you know, apprentices of the original party or something like that.
Mhm.
You can draw parallels between the old party and the new party and sort of show growth of like the human experience and the passage of knowledge beyond
Yeah.
generations.
Yeah,
Of
yeah,
that,
yeah. The
it's
differences
all
generations exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's very, very well done. It's incredibly smart. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, so that's sort of the story. I don't really want to get like too into it,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
just
Yeah.
because like I don't really want to spoil anything.
Yep.
Again, it is fairly episodic,
Yep.
but there is an end game, right? There is an end
Yeah.
goal. Um, and going into it too much sort of, I guess, kind of spoils a lot of the character development that these characters go through, which is extremely good.
Mhm.
The characters in this series are absolutely phenomenal. Um, but yeah, I just want to go over, I guess, sort of the production side really quick.
Mhm.
Um, the director is Keiichiro Saito, um, who's been in the industry for a while. He's predominantly an animator, right? Yeah, I think he started
Yeah, yeah.
getting real key animation roles back in like 2016 with stuff like Flip Flappers, Little Witch Academia, and then I guess he started working for Madhouse with Aka 13, right? And then he,
Okay.
started getting like storyboards and stuff as he goes on. And then he made his directorial debut with Bocce
what
the Rock,
fuck?
if you remember.
Wow, this guy has a good track record. What the
yeah.
fuck? Okay.
And I was curious actually, so I looked him up on the Sakugabur, right? And
Uh-huh.
he's predominantly, from what I can tell, at least from a lot of the scenes that are credited to him and uploaded, he is very good at character acting, right? Like just like subtle movements, stuff like that.
Right.
And I think a good example of that is if you remember in Bocce the Rock, basically like that whole scene of Bocce sort of like picking out her guitar, like he basically animated that, like that entire thing.
Shit.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
I think this is super important because it's like it would be one thing if like let's say he got Frieren and he also got like let's say Chainsaw Man or like Dungeon Meshi or whatever, right? Because it's like yes, those would be two hits under his belt, but those two also are like very good source material, right? It's
yeah,
like you could just do a straight ad up and you would still get accolade, right? But it's like Bocce the Rock was slightly different because Bocce the Rock, the original source material was still fine, but it wasn't the star hit that it became due to the
yeah,
anime, right? So like he definitely showed his chops in being able to elevate that story into the animation.
yeah. And then the other big name I wanted to shout out here, which will, I guess, segue into the audiovisuals is the music. The music was done by Evan Call.
Oh yes.
Yeah, he's done music for Violet Evergarden. He's done music for Symphogear. He's done music for Muv-Luv. He recently
Jesus
did the
fucking
music
Christ,
for
man.
My Happy Marriage as well. Very talented. Um,
Christ.
and then
Yeah.
with that, segueing into the audiovisuals, I think this is genuine masterclass audiovisuals. Uh, I think this is like movie production tier audiovisuals. It is phenomenal.
It's very good.
The animation is nonstop, always fantastic. The character acting in this series is absurd. The amount of like subtle movements, the amount of detail in characters just walking. There are scenes where characters are just like putting on or taking off their coat that are just like unreal, right? Like um there's a lot of talent working on this for sure. There's a lot of like contract talent. Like trying to sort of like looking into the staff, I was trying to sort of see like a mainline thread for like, which sort of production Madhouse kind of pulled a lot of the talent from here. But there kind of isn't one, right? There's a lot of
Yeah.
animators that sort of I think a lot of like the core Madhouse like staff here, like permanent Madhouse staff here is remnants from the Sunny Boy production. That seems to be
Oh,
the
that makes
most
sense. Yeah.
predominant thread here.
Okay.
But in terms of like overall, it seems like they're kind of just bringing in guest animators from everywhere.
A lot of
Um,
subcontractors. Yeah.
yeah, because
Yeah.
there are Bones animators here. There are animators that I've looked at that previously worked for Kiwani, that are sort of just freelance now. There,
There's just like okay, we need all of the good animators.
yeah, like
Everybody get on this
there's a
train.
lot of talent on this,
Yeah.
and it really shows. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the production for this is sort of similar to something like how Naruto used to be run, where you have like the core production staff, and then when you want to like have those scenes that really really pop, you bring in all the guest like contract animators,
Yeah.
and it really shows with episodes where, the episode where Stark fights the dragon, or where Frieren fights Aura. These are
Or even
episodes.
the ending animation as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah, for
The
sure.
ending animation is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's really nice. But yeah, again, back to the
but it
music.
doesn't have anything that looks like it's from Gmod like Protocol Rain does, so I have to
That is
reconsider.
true. That is true. As for the music, I think it's amazing.
Yeah, it's very good.
I think
Yeah.
like the sort of like it's a very, you know, orchestra sort of, you know, um it almost feels like a Disney movie, right?
Mhm.
It's really good. Like the just the general quality of it, and you know the sort of emotion behind it. It's very effective.
I think it fits the sort of like you were saying that like almost like D&D party like
Yeah,
style of fantasy like super well.
yeah.
Mhm.
Um,
That's like his Evan Call's specialty as well, from in like his on his like profile site and his like interviews and stuff like that. Like that's like what he specializes in, like
yeah,
these
yeah,
like orchestral stuff.
yeah. I mean, he's very good at it, and he knocked it out of the park here. And for the elephant in the room, the OPED, right?
Uh-oh. All right. Yep.
So the OP, I think we've commented on it a couple times in previous
Yes.
episodes, but the OP, it's not very good. It's a YOASOBI OP. The song isn't bad. You know, I like YOASOBI.
Mhm.
The song is
But it
Yusho.
kind of like feels
right?
like they just hired Yoasobi because
Yeah, it
Yoasobi.
kind of it's kind of just like, well, we have a lot of money for this project, so we should probably get YOASOBI, right?
Yeah, because all the kids love fucking
I mean, it's
Yoasobi,
also
right?
like
Yeah,
lyrically,
it's true.
like
I do too.
lyrically, it just seems like this
It
shit was
seems,
just
yeah.
like
I think
phoned in.
totally,
like
yeah.
this shit was just
Yeah,
like
I think
plugged
Tonal
I
is
in.
think
just a little bit.
I think the track doesn't really fit the theme or the vibe of the series. I think
Yep.
the visuals are pretty boring. They're not bad visuals by any means, but
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
Yeah,
they're pretty boring.
the
They
way I
also
describe it
are
is like
not
they're like
paced very
vapid.
well with the song as well. It's kind of just a lot of, you know, character close shots and stuff with a couple action sequences here and there.
Yeah, and there's
The
like
ED,
the book scene
however,
is
the ED is phenomenal. I think the ED is really, really good.
ED is ridiculous. It's
yeah
like one of the first time, one of the few times. Yeah,
like I
it's
said,
one of the
I
few
think I
times where
said
I've
last
looked at
time
an
I was
ED
just
visually. It's
use
like,
it
oh my
twice.
god. Yeah, just do
Yeah,
ED twice.
honestly,
Yeah.
they really
Just
could have.
slap
I
that
mean,
thing at the beginning.
honestly, they could have just pulled the Sunny Boy and just not had an OP.
Yeah.
And I think that would have been good. I think that would have
Yeah.
been.
I think that ending. I think that ending animation alone had like more art quality in it than an entire season of TQ. I'm not gonna lie.
Probably.
Dude, I
Probably.
watch that thing every single time. Like that is a no
Yeah.
skip
Yeah.
ED. Like
It's really
Yeah,
good.
that's very good.
Yeah, the song is very phenomenal. It's very emotional. The visuals are very unique, very good, very well done.
Mhm.
It's just top notch ED.
Yeah.
As for the voice cast, right? I think it's pretty good. It's got some interesting choices. Frieren herself is voiced by Atsumi Tanizaki, who
Mhm.
is eating well this season.
Yes.
She's doing Frieren. She's Anya from Spy Family.
Yes.
She's one of the sort of um, courtesans or whatever from
Oh, she did. She said too
Apothecary
for
Diaries. Yeah, she's also Chise in Mahoyome.
Holy shit, I forgot. Okay.
She's doing a lot this season.
Yeah, these
Um,
last couple years have been her years, like
yeah,
secretly.
yeah,
Not secretly, I guess, because it's like on the front you can see like Ueda Reina and like Takashirie, but like secretly like and like Akari Kito, right? Akari Kito because Demon Slayer.
yep.
But like behind that, like she's fucking been scooping up stuff.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
she does work for this.
Yeah.
She's very good. I can't picture like anybody else voicing Frieren after hearing her voice.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah, it's very
Fern,
good casting.
which is Frieren's sort of apprentice, is voiced by Ichino Sakana. She does a very good job here. Personally, I always saw Fern as a Hayami Saori character, but it's
I can see that. Yeah, I can see that.
I
Yeah.
think it's a good casting. I think she does a very good job. Um,
Mhm.
and then Stark, voiced by Shiki Kobayashi. He
Mhm.
does a pretty good, you know, shonen protagonist sort of voice. So it's a pretty good choice.
Right.
I think he's good. I like Stark a lot, so you know. And then you have what's his name? Sign, which I think is the most recent addition to the new party, which is voiced by
Mhm.
Nakamura Yuichi. He does a
Mhm.
pretty good job doing this sort of jaded voice. He's pretty good. And then you have the old party, Nobuhiko Okamoto is doing his sort of generic sort of ikemen, um, sort of full of himself kind of voice, and he
Right.
does a very good job. You have Yoji Ueda, who does Aizen the dwarf. He's pretty good. You have
I
Hiroki
might say the
Tochi
best
doing.
character, to be honest, but
He's pretty good. You have Hiroki Tochi doing Haiter, which is the alcoholic sort of the alcoholic priest of the former party, and they're all really good. It's all really good voice choice, and they definitely hit it out of the park. I do think
Mhm.
my only change would be Hayao Misare's Fern. I think that would be phenomenal, but
Mhm. That's definitely
Ichino Sakana does a very good job. Yeah, either way.
Mm.
Yeah,
Or like
overall,
or like somebody who could do like a even also like a similar like Tombra in that sort of supporting role cast would
yeah.
probably be Kana Hanazawa. I think
True,
those
true.
two probably would do two similar tones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But overall, this series is genuinely phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, like we said way back in the previews, right? Like they're like the only way like they could have fucked this series up would be like divine intervention.
Yeah.
Like God comes down and says, "I'm going to ruin your career now."
Yeah.
Like that
Corona
would
2, here we go.
like that would be the
Could've been,
only
yeah.
way.
Yeah, exactly.
But not only did they not fuck it up, but I think they genuinely knocked it out of the park. I
Yeah.
think
But
I think
I think obviously both the story is very good like amazing source material, but the animation obviously, elevated it as
yeah,
well, which is great.
just the general adaptation is
Mhm.
like just very very good. It's well paced. The emotional beats are very well done. The comedy is very well done. Um, Again, like the animation is just phenomenal. This series has pretty much everything going for it.
Yeah.
I think if you don't watch this show, you're an idiot, just straight up.
You don't really like anime if you
Yeah,
don't watch
I
Frieren. Like
think
you're just kind of just like, oh, I just want to watch One Punch Man. That's it.
yeah,
Like that's like
I think if you don't watch this, you like genuinely don't care about anime like as a medium. Like
yeah, exactly.
so,
it's very hard to like describe or capture like how fucking well this cast comes together. Like these characters play
Yeah.
off each other.
I also like this. Also, this isn't like something I usually mention, but it's like I really like how the background art and like the spells are kind of animated and like drawn, and
yeah,
how it kind of like it kind of blends in well with what they're doing. It's just like the characters are drawn obviously in like the hard lines, but it's like the background art and the spells and stuff like that. It's just like I really
yeah.
like.
Another thing I do really like that I forgot to mention actually is I don't know if you noticed it or not, but this
Mhm.
series has sort of this very subtle um, film grain like filter on it,
Yes,
and
yes,
I
yes,
think it
yes.
really elevates sort of the art and just the general style and mood of this show. It's very similar to Mushoku Tensei in that regard, because Mushoku Tensei
Oh
Mushoku Tensei pulled a similar trick of having like a film grain thing to it.
Mhm.
I think it really helps with just setting this sort of tone of the world. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, it's just like on pretty much every layer imaginable. This show is fucking top notch.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
yeah,
but
uh,
what if it had the film grain and it was in 480p when it released? Okay,
true, true,
have you thought
true.
about
Or
that?
it did that. What is it? or it did that megalobox thing where it's
Yeah,
just
that's
like
what I'm
it
talking about. Yeah,
intentionally went like low. Oh yeah.
480p. Like,
Yep.
Yeah.
Bro, it's an homage.
what could have been? Just saying.
Yeah.
Oh my god. But yeah, very good.
Yeah, overall, you should watch it. I think
Yeah.
you're dumb if you don't. And I think this is a like unironic 10 out of 10 show. Like
Yeah,
straight up.
it definitely like it helps. It's like something that you can watch with your parents for sure, and it's like it elevates the form, the medium, and it's like again,
Yep.
it's like something. If your parents were like, you watch anime, like this is something that you could show them proud.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah. What's my question is, Near? Do you think that this will win first place at our anime of the year at the Crunchyroll Awards?
I mean, what what do you think would like even compete, right?
I
Like,
just think that they're gonna
I
pick
forget.
some fucking Demon Slayer
Does Crunchyroll
shit.
allow? Yeah,
Honestly,
do they allow season 2s? Like, I don't think they have any rules against like giving it.
they,
don't-
to...
I don't
I
know.
have
I'm not
half
too
a mind.
sure.
I think they'll end up doing
They'll
some
probably
like
be like,
Attack on
"Ah, dude,
Titan
it's like
part
Jujutsu
3,
Kaisen
part
Well,
4.
you
fucking
you think
season
they'll give
2."
Anime of the Year to like Attack on Titan like final OVAs or whatever?
Final OVA part 3, special
Yeah.
part 4. Like I feel like they will. That's the thing. I'm like fucking like, oh man.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think anybody. I think they do. I think they do actually include season 2s.
Yeah, that's what I'm
So
afraid
they'll
of.
they'll
It's
probably
just
give it to like
yeah.
fucking Jujutsu Kaisen or something.
At least it's Jujutsu Kaisen. At least it's
Yeah, but
Jujutsu
this is
Kaisen.
also
I mean-
arguably not a hot season IMO for Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yeah.
Just in my
Yeah.
opinion.
But
I think season 1 was better.
but yeah, I don't know. I think anybody that takes the fucking Crunchyroll awards seriously is
Yeah,
fucking
especially since their
huffing
timeline
gas
is so
straight up.
weird. It's
Yeah.
like I don't know what that shit's all about. But yeah. Anyways, any last words?
No, you should watch it.
Yeah.
It's good. It's definitely
Pretty
the
good.
best of the season. It's
Mhm.
pretty much I think it's pretty much shoo-in for Anime of the Year.
Yeah, it's.
You know, I'll
I
have to
think
go.
I would have to skim a little bit, but it's very
Yeah, I'll
hard
have
to
to go
even like
back
think
and
of like other contenders.
and double check
Yeah.
some other stuff. I still
Yeah.
have to finish Heavenly Delusion, stuff like that. But
Yeah.
you know, it's looking pretty strong, right? So
All right. Well, thank you very much, Nier. And you heard him. If you haven't fucking watched Frieren, go watch Frieren, or at least read the series.
Yeah.
Just go and do it. Do both. So yeah, thank you very much, Nier. And with that, we are on to the news. Obviously, it's been a freaking week, so we're gonna have maybe 2 pieces of news. we're not gonna have much news here.
Yeah, how
Give me a
many men
second.
were arrested in Japan for like $40 worth of pirated content?
Yeah, for being a 60 million-year-old man who secretly sat back
Yeah.
and the live One Piece thing like recorded
the
on old
oldest
camera.
man
Yeah.
in Japan sent a torrent to his great grandson of the
my
first
God.
no,
episode of One
he
Piece.
sent a physical letter with a magnet link on it.
Yeah, to the first
Oh my God.
episode of One Piece. And
It
yeah,
still
they're putting
cracks
him in
me
front
up
of a
how
fire
like half the
instead.
time half the time it's just like, yeah, this like 75-year-old man sat in the back of like an Attack on Titan like movie exhibition and just recorded. I'm like, bro, come on. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
do you really
bold.
not have other things to do?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
like
recorded
bold,
on
but
his like Nokia
also-
flip phone, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
But then Japan's
Jesus.
just like, yeah,
Anyways.
he's gonna go to jail for the rest of his life.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you are fucked, bro. Anyways,
We're actually arresting his children.
first. Yeah, exactly. 3 generations down. But yeah, the first piece of news: the judging committee of the 69th Shogakukan Manga Award, Shogakukan being one of the major publishers, especially of like anime works in Japan, revealed the nominees for this year's awards on Thursday. Each winning title will be honored with a bronze statuette and a prize of 1 million yen, which is around 6,900 US dollars. The winners will be announced on January 18th. For the first time, the nominees are not divided into categories. Previous categories for the awards included Best Children's Manga, Best Shonen Manga, Best Shoujo Manga, and Best General Manga.
Seems
This
like a bad
year's
idea.
yeah, I feel like it should have categories because it's like all these comparisons are just apples to oranges now. So, but yeah, this year's nominees still include a variety of works from a wide range of genres. Yeah, I think that's not a good idea.
Yep.
But yeah, the nominees are, by the way, again, if you guys are interested, you guys should check the works from this series out because they usually end up being somewhat interesting series, at least. So please do check these out, titles out when you have the chance. And the nominees are Unmei no Makimodoshi, All Great Achievements Require Time by Kimura Futa. Kyo kara papa wa kami desu. From today onwards, my father is God by Teramoto Mitsuki. Frieren, Beyond Journey's End, Sousou no Frieren by Yamada Kaneito and
Wait a
Abe
minute.
Tsukasa.
I think I
Haven't
heard of
heard
that
of it.
one.
Yeah, exactly. The Elusive Samurai by Matsui Yusei. Suji de Asobo by Kinuta Murako. Black Girls Talk. I don't know what the fuck that is. Maki no Maki. Uh,
I feel like that's not translated properly. But
yeah. That is actually the full transliterated title, but I don't know what the fuck the series. Oh, it's probably just like black as in like personality black. You know what I mean?
Either that or I don't know,
probably.
maybe like company. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Shujinko Nikki by Yoshinaga Yu. Ice Castle Wall by Agasawa Kocha. Zom 100, Bucket List of the Dead by Asao Haro and Takata Kotaro. Trillion Game by Inagaki Riichiro. Uh, Shoujiki Fudosan, Honest Realtor by Otani Akira. And Yaboy Kongming, or Paripi Kome by Yotsuba Yuto and Ogao Ryo. So yeah. Last year's winners included Uikon, Call of the Night, Yofukashi no Uta, obviously, Blue Orchestra or Ano Orchestra, Ashita Watashi ga Dareka no Kanojo, and Medalist. So again, if you're interested in any of these, please do check these out. Last and final piece of news here. Game developer and publisher Arc System Works and game developer Akuria announced on Monday that they have formed a capital alliance. This tie-up is intended to bolster Arc System Works' development capabilities by leveraging Akuria's experience. So yeah, they're just kind of doing a. I mean, tie-up is just they're just I guess utilizing each other's services for like various
Right.
stuff for the most part, but interesting see where they're gonna go. And just a quick piece of news again. We don't do much person news these days, but um, obviously the Kyoto Animation arson case has still been ongoing, and it is starting to come to a head where the prosecutors are seeking the death penalty against the arson suspect Aoba Shinji. While the defense is seeking for Aoba's acquittal or reduced sentence, arguing that he was suffering from delusions at the time of the attack. Um, Obviously, a lot of people are clamoring for the death penalty, but whatever the penalty it is likely to be obviously very severe, as befits the severity and uh, yeah, the significance of the attack, the incident that happened. So hopefully, all sides will be satisfied with the justice that is meted out. But yeah, that was the last piece of news there. And we come now to our shout outs and call outs here. Everybody here gets one shout out, one call out. Shout out is something that you want to give 5 out of 5, praise to the skies. Any one person, place, or thing will do. And call out is the exact opposite, 1 out of 5, 0 out of 5, something that you want to rant about. Again, it can be any one person, place, or thing. And we start now with Nier.
Shit, man. Shoutouts to the Game Awards. Shoutouts to Sega.
Yeah.
Shoutouts to Sega for
Sega's gonna combine all of those games that they
Shouts to
listed into
Sega
one
to
mega
just
game.
to bringing back the shit Sega shout, you know.
yeah. But yeah, Jet Set Radio is coming back. It's fucking hype.
Jet Set Radio.
Jet Set Radio is my favorite game of all time. So, you know, it was a bit shocking. It was a bit exciting to see again. It looks good. So yeah, awards are pretty cool, I think.
Yeah, the super
as for
game failed
callouts,
with hyenas, so you know they have to actually make something.
yeah, true,
now.
true. As for callouts, I don't know. Callouts to Grok. Callouts to
Nice.
callouts to Elon Musk and his Grok AI. I don't know, man.
Cause to Elon Musk and his Cybertruck.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
fucking whatever,
I
dude.
can't believe anybody will want to ride that thing. Jesus Christ.
Hey, man, listen.
Bro, they're gonna die. There are gonna be a lot.
If you're
of
listen,
deaths.
if you're driving in that thing, you can be rest assured that anybody you hit will be eviscerated, and you probably will too from the impact. So
I like how they actually release footage for the safety
they
test,
made
and it's
they
just
made like the
Yeah.
first car with like a mutual fucking equate like
keep in mind,
just
keep in mind,
mutual
100
destruction, mutually assured
yeah, there's
destruction.
like 100% like retention of
Yep, like
fucking
just guaranteed
velocity
death.
to the driver as well. Like,
Oh my god.
But
Man.
but yeah, keep in mind, like I don't know if you know, like I don't know how many people have seen the sort of safety footage tests they've done, but the rollover test was something. It was something ridiculous. It was like 18 miles an hour, and it's like,
Oh my god.
no, like that's not how you do a rollover test. You do a rollover test at high fucking speed, because
Yeah,
that
exactly.
is the conditions that you're going to be doing a
hold
rollover
on, I mean,
at high fucking speed.
maybe they're also trying to tell us something that if you turn in this fucking thing at 18 miles an hour,
Yeah, you're dead.
rolling.
Yeah. If you're literally trying to start your car after a school bus starts up, then you're fucked. You're gonna roll
Yeah.
over. Yeah.
But yeah, that shit's fucking crazy. So
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, Nier. What about you, Dark? Shout out, call out.
I guess so. I know I originally had a shout out, like a better shout out, but I guess I'll just go with like I don't know if this Tower of Fantasy server like works out or whatever, they like bring it over and I can actually transfer my fucking weapons and shit, like my gacha stuff, then shout outs to the new server. That's gonna make the game like a playable MMO and all the weapons like usable and shit. And not like power crept at all, because that new server seems really, really cool. And I quite like a lot of Tower of Fantasy stuff, so having it be a game where like I can just pick it up, play it, and be a part of a team and not see like a fucking whale do 300% more damage than me. And then like that happening, even if I wailed, I'd have to wail again in like 3 patches because a new power crept weapon came out. So yeah, I guess shout outs to that. Hope that works out well for them. Because it would fit into a really unique spot for some of these like gotcha games. So hope that works. Yeah. And I guess my call out is gonna be to I guess like a lot of the people a lot of people like that were shitting on the Game Awards, saying like, because like I don't know, obviously there were a lot of there were definitely things to not like about the Game Awards this year, like the just wanting more time for people, wanting to have like more of the awards on stage. Like I do think that like best indie game like 100% should have been on stage. I think it's a bit shitty that like it wasn't. Um but ultimately I feel like that's just like kind of the reality of the situation now, considering
Right.
the Game Award like that's why like it rubs me the wrong way when I see people bitching about that and being like, fuck you, Jeff, like Jeff Keighley. Because in the past, like I was like, yeah, dude, it was really fucking stupid that like I don't know, like fucking Al Pacino was there last year. I was like, yeah, that's dumb as hell. Like that's really
Yeah.
stupid. But I feel like this year was so jam packed, was so streamlined. Like I've seen people complain about the celebrities again this year, and it's like literally every celebrity there was there to say that they are in a game and to announce a new game. Like
Yeah, it's
Simu
not just like a
Liu
random
was
person. Yeah.
there to introduce what is Stormgate.
Yeah, exactly.
Matthew McConaughey was there to fucking introduce like, Mass Effect Interstellar. And I forget, and then like Anthony Mackie was there to promote fucking obviously to promote Twisted Metal, which is a game adaptation, the new season, and then to
They
introduce
had Kojima and Peel, right? I think.
But see, like I've not seen anyone complain about Kojima and Peel. And it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, I'm
bro,
saying,
Kojima literally
like,
took up 10 full fucking minutes to show us nothing. And like no
Yeah.
one's complaining about that. They're like, no, get rid of these celebrities. It's like, bro, they didn't do anything. Like
Yeah, exactly.
they took up like no time at all. And yeah, and then someone else was complaining about I'd seen another prominent like content creator complaining about you gave barely any of these people time to speak, but you fucking had a whole section for the Muppets, like this whole Muppets bit. And I'm gonna be honest with you, Near and I say this like every year. If the Muppets weren't there, there would be no Game Awards.
Jeff,
That's like the only reason
Jeff
Jeff
would
is
not be there.
doing the Game Awards. Yeah, like Jeff would just not do it. Like he would shut it down. Because like you gotta remember, like Jeff literally fronts the money needed to run this show.
Yeah.
Like if they don't get enough back from sponsors and shit. Like this is not something, and like this show, like I've run events, like I've run yearly. I'm like a part of an event that like it's very small. It's like 500 people attending total, and it's at a country club, and that alone like nets like it nets money, but the costs of it are insane. It's like the venue alone for 3 days
for sure.
is $100 grand for like 3 days with food and
These
shit,
are not
and like
cheap,
for
for sure.
500 guests. Like I was like, the fucking Game Awards is like a multi-million-dollar production. So to also see people be like, dude, there were so many ads. It's like, I really wasn't seeing them. Like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Like, there was the truth ads. There was like 2 truth ads for anti-vaping. Which probably gets Jeff like money off, like cuts of and like funding, because there's probably like some government fucking thing too that he gets money from there with that. There was like a Fortnite ad, which is like, yeah, there's a fucking Fortnite ad. Like, okay, that's gaming. There was a Chromebook / like Nvidia Now ad. And then I think the only other, I don't even know, I can't even really think of another ad at that point. And it's like,
yeah, there weren't
really
that
not
many like
seeing-
ads that weren't just like games. They're like
yeah,
game
I'm
ads.
sitting there and I'm like, yeah, and like even then, like, I don't really know if I consider that an ad. Like I don't consider like there was the one Fortnite ad, but I don't consider them being like, oh, Fortnite has, Lego Fortnite, and now Fortnite also has the car thing, because that shit just came out in Fortnite, and it's like a completely different game within that. So I like I don't consider that an advertisement. I consider that a trailer, like a game trailer.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like other than that, I think it's silly to say shit like that now, when this has been like the first Game Awards that I've seen where I'm like, there really was no fat to trim there. I think the only fat to trim at that point is to literally just delete the pre-show and just give people more time to speak. Like, just get rid of the pre-show and find another way to like fit those awards in later, or like remove some of those awards that you just do call outs for, and then just like
Right.
start the show earlier and end it the same time, and give people like a
Right.
couple more minutes each or something. And maybe put up like best score in music on stage and best indie game on stage and something like that. But yeah, because it was like it was super streamlined, and to just see that and to see people I saw other people say shit like people are here for the awards, and it's like they are
That's
not.
not
They
true.
are not tuning in for the awards.
That is
friend.
not at all true.
Everyone was tuning in for the world premieres and trailers. So like, don't kid yourself.
Even the people in the audience are not really tuned in for the awards.
Yeah, they're there to show off their new shit. Like, and
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
the recognition is great, but I don't think anyone can seriously sit there and be like, yeah, we need less
I was
like
there for
world
the woman
premieres.
doing
need
the
less-
flames and
Yeah, we need less world premieres, and we need more fucking awards. We need
Yeah.
more people talking with awards. Like,
Yeah.
not really. Now that fucking like a lot of gaming events are dead, and like this is the only one to like show off
Yeah.
the big new shit. Like, this is kind of what people expect and what people.
hmm
So yeah, definitely
Yeah.
room for improvement, but overall good. Also, the Alan Wake section was like incredible. Like the
Mhm.
Alan Wake the musical, fucking awesome. That rocked. So like, also, yeah, you can't take away that, and that took up like 5 minutes, 5 whole minutes. So wouldn't
Yeah,
trade
it
that
was
for
a little bit
anything.
unfortunate. Yeah, I think the TGA was pretty fun, and it's especially fun again when you see it with friends and react to the various stuff coming up. But it was fine. Um, all right. Well, Dark, thank you for your shout out and call out. Toast, shout out, call out, please. Toast is dead.
I'm gonna shout out Amatsuka Uto
Okay.
because apparently she's back, and now she joined Voice Ora. She was gonna quit, but then they scouted her, so now she's back.
Okay.
Good for her.
That's good. What's your call out?
The sun.
That's a
Screw
pretty
the sun.
decent call out.
How is it a decent call out?
I mean, some people don't like certain weathers or climates.
What? What do you mean
Are
certain weather?
are you saying you don't like the sun because
What?
you don't want it to be warm, or like what?
It's not warm. It's cold. What are you talking about?
Okay, then why are you calling it out?
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
What?
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 All right, man.
All right. Well,
Why do we
anyways,
need the sun?
It's kind of important for life
that's
to
true.
that's very
exist.
No.
philosophical.
Oh
I'm
yeah?
agreeing.
Very philosophical.
How come vampires can live without the sun?
Because they're not real.
Also true, dude. Okay, buddy. You obviously haven't seen the government programs I have.
True.
But yeah,
You
anyways.
know else? No,
Yeah. What is it? No, what else?
Okay. All right,
Okay.
man.
you know what? Screw the Doomsday Vault too. Screw those guys.
Okay.
The Svalbard Global Seed Vault. Screw you guys.
All right. Well, anyways, thank you, Toast, for your shout out call out. My shout out is probably going to be, at least this summer run, is going to be on for the what? I had a shout out, but I just forgot it. Oh, I guess a shout out to
Squid Game season
the
2
what?
or not? The Squid not is it not season 2? The Squid Games
We're-
game show.
I do want to actually yeah, no. I do want to shout out the dang it, I should have had like two call outs. Fuck.
Go ahead.
but
Go ahead. I'll let you have it. Go ahead.
I do. I want
Go
to
off.
shout out the people who were in the Discord with me when we were doing the Game Awards, because it's like the Game Awards is like fun to watch stuff like that, but it's like funnier to just shoot the shit there. So shout out to them. And call out would be, I forgot to actually call this out when I was doing my review, but part I skimmed through the localization for 16-bit sensation, and there were comments apparently about how apparently Crunchyroll translated ecchi to hentai, like not even like hentai as in like they translated to the English like pervert, but they literally wrote hentai.
What's
And
the difference?
Crunchyroll just keeps getting better
first,
and better, man. Let me tell you, that
first
first episode of
you probably shouldn't.
Yuzuki,
Wait, what happened?
you don't remember the Yuzuki?
Oh yes, the AI stuff,
The
Yeah,
right?
that
the
was the shit
AI, the
they.
machine.
That was the shit they
That
MTL'd.
couldn't have
Yeah.
been. That could
Yes.
not have been AI.
Oh my
There's no
god,
way.
that like
I
stresses
refuse to
me
believe that
out
was
just thinking
AI.
about it.
That shit
Oh
had to
my
just be
god.
like straight up just machine translated.
Yeah.
Like I refuse to
Fuck
believe
that
AI
I
was
shit.
mean,
even dumb enough
AI
to
is
pull that shit.
capable of assisted translation now. So
No, I know,
that's
but
what a lot
I
of
feel
people are
like
using these days.
like it's better.
It's
I
just a
feel like it's better
combination of like
than what that shit
idiots
had.
like feeding it AI, like real, because it's like because AI is like if you feed it really terrible things and if you use it really poorly, it can go just like it can sound like
Because the
some
problem is a lot
alien
of it was
speaking.
like even like yeah, it was like broken English as well, and it's like how
Yeah,
the
that's
fuck
the
did
thing.
you manage
Likely
to do?
the translator, quote unquote translators that were working on it are probably just some random bumfucks who, barely learned English and they were just like, oh, well, just give it to us. We'll do it for like pennies on the dime, right? Or like pennies on dollar. Um, and that's what we got. We got crap. So that, and then I think there was a part where it's like they translated something to like pog, and I was just like, don't. I've already explained like many times on this podcast why you shouldn't do that, but
Dude, I love
that.
that.
And
I love when dude, they're just localizing it with this
yeah,
language that will be fucking outdated and irrelevant in like
yeah,
5 years, by the
exactly.
way.
Like people will literally look at it by 5 years. What the fuck? What is it? Like what is
Yeah,
they?
like what the fuck are you
Oh, just,
talking about?
like yeah. But yeah, that was that call out that I wanted to make. But for this actual call out, I just wanted to call out the ISPs and like the lobbyists and like the fucking companies over in South Korea who made. No, obviously, like I'm not saying Twitch is like a good company. Clearly, they're not a good company. They're like a miser-like company. But they also got fucked this time by the Korean like protectionist laws over there that made it very hard for them to stream properly. And so now Twitch Korea is shutting down, and people in Korea will literally not be able to view Twitch, um, and the streamers in Twitch will not be able to properly stream or anything, and they will have to move to other platforms. So, fuck you, Korean ISPs. And I've actually been saying this for a while, but fuck you, Korean ISPs. But yeah.
So
Anyways,
bold.
that was that was my shout out and multiple call outs. And with that, we are finally done. Not only with this episode, but with the fall 2023 reviews in general. Again, thank you everybody for watching. Um I think we covered most of the series that we wanted to do for the most part. And the next
Yeah, there was
episode
still
will be
definitely a
our
few, so it was
there
a bit
yeah,
unfortunate.
it was a little bit unfortunate, but so next episode will be our winter 2024 preview show, and then the episode after that will be in the new year. We'll be taking obviously the break over the holidays, and the next time we'll after the preview show will be in the new year, and we'll be doing the end of the award show, or sorry, end of the year awards show. Then
End of the
at a
World Award
time,
Show.
yeah, at end of the world's awards show. Uh, timed at a much better time than Crunchyroll Awards. But so yeah, check us out then. And again, if you guys have anything that you guys want us to review or preview, please do let us know through social media. And if you like what we do, we stream our podcast every other Saturday, starting from 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over at twitch.tv/4PlayerAnimecast with the numeral 4, where we talk about the latest and greatest in Japanese animation, media, and related matters, anime, manga, light novels, web novels, visual novels, and so much more. So you can check us out here on our Twitch vlog, clips and highlights, different anime series reviewed and previewed, as well as on YouTube. So you can check out our clips and highlights there, or here, whichever format you desire. Check us out also on our social media platforms, Facebook, 4Player Animecast, as well as on Twitter, handle at 4PPAnimeCast, where you can find out the latest about our more information, updates when we're streaming, so much more. Check us out here, check us out there, and as always, we'll see you next time.